the same thing. I didn't change anything. Dang it, Restream, why you gotta be like this? My god. Oh, my bitrate is apparently really bad, but it's not like I know what that means, it's fine.
That's a good question.
Okay. Do you see my screen? Are you watching?
I am still on no sleep.
Okay. I don't know where to start. Voting thread. Oh my god, my laptop is so hot. I'm gonna die.
No, you can't die.
It's too
That's
late,
rude.
I'm already dead.
How rude.
I'm not really rude. Where's the votes? What? How am I supposed to know what to read? This list doesn't stop loading.
Wow.
Okay. Okay. What do you want to read? Look at this. Look at these. There's a lot about food. I don't appreciate this. Are you trying to make me not eat?
I wish there was a thing where it's like the most votes goes to the top.
They don't
Which it
even.
might
They're
be,
not
but this
showing the
is.
votes for this, or maybe they just put the stuff. No, I can't be the first person to look at this thread. It's not possible.
That might be sad.
There's no
Click
way.
vote on House in the hospital and see if it goes up.
I think they just gotta tell me to log in, and I don't want to bother.
Oh.
Oh, I like this one. It says a lot already in the title. My undead girlfriend has trust issues.
That'll be a good one.
I bet she does.
That's also, I think, my date's a vampire.
Posted by deleted a month ago. What happened to him?
Wah, wah, wah.
Is a place for Redditors to share their scary personal experiences. I think that's a lie. I don't think most of these are real. Pretty sure
Nope.
people aren't genuinely dying as they post this.
I don't think people generally have undead girlfriends.
I mean, you never
Maybe
know.
goth girlfriends, but maybe not undead.
Okay.
Generally.
Right. When I met Ava, I knew she was the perfect match for me. We met in a park quite a while ago, when I decided to go for an early morning jog. Ava was sitting on a bench, eyes glued to her phone. At the time, I wasn't very fit, so after a few laps, I plonked myself down next to her. She looked up and smiled at me, and I hesitantly smiled back. We got talking, and after a while, we exchanged numbers. I told her that I lived locally, and I found out that she did too. We even found out that we had the same favorite food, pizza. Oh my god, how quirky. We chatted for a while, and it seemed like we had hit it off. We texted each other later that day and arranged a date in the town. Ever since then, we've been together, girlfriend and boyfriend. Before her, I'd never dated anyone, and neither had she, so I always joked that our relationship was fate. That sounds very standard.
Yeah. Just slightly.
But not everything in our relationship is perfect. For one, Ava has serious trust issues. I found this out on one of our first dates, when I tried to hold her hand. However, I didn't manage to, as Ava jerked her hand away from me like I was poisonous. Oh yeah, Jim? I forgot to tell you, I don't really like being touched. I didn't think that this was too odd, as I knew a lot of people who didn't like physical affection. This complicated our relationship slightly, as I couldn't kiss or hug her, but other than that, we were just like any other couple. There have been occasions where I'd forget that she didn't like it and try and touch her, but she was too quick. For someone who always looked half dead, I was surprised to find she had so much energy. Yeah, I was surprised to find, oh my gosh, she has so much money. Where did she get it?
Inheritance.
Like, did she inherit it from herself? Because we already know from the title she's undead. I don't really understand this build up.
Insurance money from when she died.
Ah, of course. Oh, yeah.
Somehow went to herself.
And that's the other thing. Oven isn't exactly very healthy. She's very thin, and there are days where I can almost see her bones through her translucent skin. That doesn't sound normal.
What?
Her long black
It's
hair falls loosely in greasy strands. Have you tried telling her to wash it? And the dark circles under her eyes make her look like a panda. And then
Aww.
there are her eyes themselves. They are dark hollows, void of emotion or anything human. Ava's skin is so white it looks almost green. That's not how colors work.
First it's translucent, then it's so white it's green.
If you met her at night, you would think she was a corpse. I've nagged her to go and see a doctor, but she refuses. I'm hoping that this is just a seasonal thing. Maybe she'll get better when summer starts again. Why is summer capitalized? That is a
Aren't
long
you
way
actually
away
technically
yet.
supposed to capitalize summer, spring, autumn?
No, I don't see people ever do that. It's weird.
I don't.
It's early November and the advancing cold weather probably won't help. Still, I love her no matter what. We're soulmates after all, we both love pizza. This was meant to be. Are you sure she
Wow.
actually eats pizza though? It sounds kind of like she doesn't.
What
Another-
has brains on it?
Another thing I hate about Ava is how secretive she is. About everything. I try and tell her that she can trust me. We're dating after all, but she doesn't listen. She gets so mad when I try and question her. I don't know what she does in the time between our dates. I just assume she's busy with work and ignore it. One time, however, my friend Mark and I were walking through the neighborhood when we saw Ava in a graveyard. She was with another guy, and trust me when I say I've never seen two people who look so alike yet so different at the same time. This guy had the exact same complexion as her, the same hollow cheeks and dead eyes, but his face structure was completely different, and while she was long and lanky, he was short and stocky. When I saw him, I stumbled backwards, and I must have made quite a racket as his glassy eyes stopped fixating on Ava and stared directly at me.
Brains.
Well, that was it. I grabbed Mark's arm and ran. I didn't want Ava to know we'd been spying on her. I tried indirectly questioning her over dinner, but she completely denied all of it. So you can imagine my surprise when she showed up at my flat yesterday and told me that we were going to her parents' house. She seemed oddly nervous and quite jittery. I agreed to go and we set off on foot to their place. It was quite dark outside. There was no moon that night, which meant that the neighborhood was shrouded in darkness. It was also quite cold and I shivered as I pulled my coat tighter around me. Ava didn't seem to feel the cold though, as she strode on without acknowledging it. We walked in the dark for about 15 minutes before Ava stopped and said, "This is the place." She had stopped at the local cemetery, the one where I'd seen her talking to her doppelganger. I stared at it for a minute before I asked, "Is this where your parents live?" "Yes," she said quietly, walking over to a corner of the cemetery. I assumed they were dead. "I'm sorry," I called after her, racing to keep up. "Oh, don't be," she smiled. "Tonight we're going to bring them back. At least we're going to bring Mom back. Dad is already here." She turned around and there stood the short guy from a while back. He had a sack slung over his shoulder, big enough for a human, but I didn't dare question it. In the gloom, he looked more corpse-like than ever, and when he smiled, you could see his rotting teeth. My eyes almost popped out of their sockets. "He's your dad?" "That's right," she confirmed. "I brought him back a few weeks ago when you and your friend just happened to be passing by us." Her words were laced with venom, and I felt waves of guilt crashing over me. "How? You can't bring back the dead." Ava smiled sweetly, chuckling at my ignorance. "You'll see. Dig." She handed me a shovel and nudged me towards her mother's grave. "What, you want me to?" She nodded. "I'm gonna be real with you. I'm kind of bored of the story."
It didn't have, you know.
It's like, yeah, we know she's a zombie. You've already told us in the title, and like, You're saying all these things about, like, that are, like, warning signs, but the protagonist is just like, that seems normal. She's probably off doing something. I don't know what. I don't pay attention to her, even though she's my soulmate.
She loves pizza.
Yeah, I feel like that's the only thing he knows about her is that she loves pizza. He can't even prove it. Oh, wait, no, apparently they had dinner together. Yeah, so.
Yeah. He gets eaten in the end?
Well, he becomes a zombie. Oh, they ate his friend, apparently. I don't
Oh.
even know. Oh, yeah, Mark, right? I forgot he was in this. Like, I feel. The grammar's good, nothing's spelled wrong. It flows fine, but the actual story itself is very flat.
Bland.
Yeah, it's very bland, and
It has no spice.
yeah, just the way it's written is not interesting. And the
It
story,
doesn't keep you hooked.
like, the actual story isn't anything special either. It's really boring. The pacing is not good. I don't like this one. I'm gonna be real.
Try, I think my girlfriend's a vampire.
I think my date is a vampire. You're making assumptions here, man.
Date. Sorry, that zombie girlfriend, vampire date.
I like the sound of this one. My grandpa keeps mixing up his Halloween monsters. Wonder why that's relevant. See, a good title doesn't tell you what the twist is, man. This all started less than a day ago. I was scrolling on Tinder in my condo's living room, reading some guy named Brian's bio, when suddenly the app crashed. I swiped up to go to my app gallery, finding Tinder and clicking on it. The app loaded in, and what I saw in the next profile shocked me. This guy was drop dead gorgeous. 27 years old, chocolate brown hair. Maybe you should get that checked. I don't think your hair's supposed to look like chocolate. Amber colored eyes, and surprisingly pale skin. Oh my god, you're describing Edward Cullen from the Twilight movies.
Oh, God.
Anyway.
It's sparkling in the sunlight.
He worked as an anesthesiologist, I'm pulling a Mally, and loved to travel, especially on cruises. I decided to test my luck and swipe right, hoping to find myself with a date. Just a few seconds later, I received a notification that the guy had matched with me. I tapped on the notification, running a list of things to say through my head. Eventually, I just decided to say hi. Hello. Hi. How are you? Good, you?
That's about my conversations go.
That's so real. Wait, this is a part one, man. I guess this has gotta be long. The conversation was pretty boring so far, but I was sure that it would get better. I spotted the 3 dots indicating that he was typing and waited. So, you want to go on a date tonight or something? I was surprised by how fast this was going, but I thought it would be entertaining at the least to go out to some restaurant within a few hours of meeting someone. Isn't this... I mean, I don't use Tinder, but isn't this how Tinder gets used? Like...
Yeah.
Actually, I think it normally goes even
5-8%.
faster than this. They usually skip the date part.
Yeah. Like you'll find your 25% of that actually being true, and then 75% it skip it all.
Sure, where at? I was thinking we could go to Snowcap Brewery, the new place downtown. Is that alright? Yeah, that's fine. We can meet up there at 5? Alright, see you there. I left him on read at that message.
Name.
Wait, what, Snowcap Brewery?
I like that name.
I thought you didn't like it. I was like, what do you have against?
Isn't Snowcap like also a mushroom, or is that a different cap?
I mean, Cap, a lot of... Cap gets used as a mushroom name a lot, so I don't think it's... I don't think it's the name of a mushroom. I think it's, like referring to the top of a mountain.
It's a nice name. I like it.
It's good imagery.
Yeah.
I left him on read at that message. Red.
Oof.
Setting my phone down and heading to my closet to look for a suitable outfit. I found a purple hoodie representing my alma mater and some leggings, changing and doing my makeup in the bathroom. My hair is naturally wavy, so there was no need to curl it. I grabbed some cash, stuffed it in my wallet, put everything else I needed in my small crossbody bag, and headed out, locking the door behind me. I almost slid down my icy driveway, managing to do so without falling, and unlocked my black 4Runner. Was that a car? Climbing into the
I think
driver's
it's a Jeep.
seat and switching the ignition on. I turned the heat up, pulling out my phone and Googling the directions to the brewery. Placing my phone in the cup holder, I turned the radio on and shifted into drive, following the directions until I arrived. I found a parking spot, grabbing my bag and heading inside. The brewery was designed like a large cabin, most of the dining areas being booths. There was a bar in the right corner, and a corridor behind the bar that I assumed was the bathrooms and kitchen. I scanned the area for my date, spotting him at one of the first booths on the left side. I approached the table, smiling. Hey, you must be Mason. Yep. I can hear myself through your mic, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh my god, now I hear the... Now I
Nope.
hear the fan.
Here we go. I don't have a fan going.
Probably your laptop overheating like mine.
Nope, it's nice and cool.
Is it picking up
Oh,
my
wait,
laptop?
you probably heard my little fan that is like making no sound, but okay, it is making a little sound. I unplugged my headset and plugged it back in. Hopefully that may have worked.
Maybe.
Oh no.
I think it's better. Now, what I like about this story so far is that it has a lot of really like, I don't know, it has so many details that you'd be like, yeah, I could see someone doing this. This certainly is a person in, I don't know, like college age.
And it also has stuff that's like kind of relatable, like how conversations go. Like,
Yeah, the
hi,
last one
hi,
felt
how are
really
you?
empty and bland because they were just like describing some really generic stuff, and you're like, who is this person? This person doesn't exist.
You know, there's never any conversations, nothing to keep you going. It was just, yep, this, and then this, and next.
Yeah.
More of a list than a story.
Yeah. I sat down, taking a look at the menu. I decided to order a veggie burger with some onion rings on the side. Flagging down a blonde waitress, I told her my order and let Mason order too. After the waitress confirmed our orders and left, we chatted for a bit about our hobbies, interests, and just our lives in general. When the food came, we ate our meals, and I checked my phone for messages and the time, 8:40. We then chatted for a little bit more, exchanged numbers, and walked out together. Hey, do you want to come to my place? Oh, no thanks, I have work tomorrow, sorry. Oh, okay. I'll text you for round 2 then. Bye. Wait, did they actually... I was like, what... They literally just ate and they didn't talk or anything.
Well, which one was asking to go to their place, though?
I don't know, it's not clear. I'm assuming it's the not a vampire guy. Trying, because you know.
Maybe?
I approached my 4Runner, noticing that he was following me. That's a red flag.
That's not creepy at all.
The white Jeep next to me chirped, and I saw him get into it as I got into my car. I waved, pulling out of the parking lot and heading home. When I got inside, I almost immediately went to bed as I was exhausted after the date. But all you did was talk. I guess you're probably an introvert.
And in that situation on a date, highly stressful.
I was out when my head hit the pillow and I had a dreamless sleep. At around 2 in the morning, I was awoken by a knock on my door. I slipped a light coat on, going to answer my door. It was Mason. How the fuck did you get my address? Oh, I just googled your number. Can I come in?
Wow.
Sure. No, why would you... No. What? Stranger danger. Do not let people that you just met into your house after they said they googled where you live. That's not normal.
That's... No.
That's very...
That's stranger danger.
That's very creepy. I stepped aside to let Mason in and turned the TV on at a low volume. I just came here to let you know that I booked a cruise for the two of us. It leaves in 5 hours and the dock is 3 hours away. What? She said she has work tomorrow, man. Why would you do this? After one day.
Uh, you know those people that get like overly attached and clingy and
You mean
possessive
like when you go to the
immediately?
second day and they come in with like a marriage registration form and they're like, "How many kids do you want?"
And a
You're like,
whole list of
"What?"
things like this is us now. That's hella creepy, dude.
I like how it's oddly
Unsettling.
specifically just a cruise though.
And hey, just so you know, it leaves in 5 hours and the dock's 3 hours away. I'm in danger.
What? Yeah, you can go pack and I'll watch something on TV while I wait. All right. You're not gonna question this?
No question at all. Just like, okay.
I switched a few lights on, heading upstairs to pack. I grabbed a suitcase and backpack, taking some clothes from my closet and packing extra stuff in my backpack. I also packed some condoms just in case. I mean, you're. I don't think. Okay. Then I changed into a light parka and a long sleeve, putting some fleece lined leggings on, since I knew it would be cold outside. I headed downstairs, Mason immediately noticing me and getting up. I grabbed my purse, wrapping it around my suitcase's handle. You ready? He switched off the TV and I noticed that his teeth had a slight red tint. His skin was about 3 shades darker than earlier. I brushed it off, thinking it was just the lighting. Is this where she suddenly brings up that she had a dog or something? Because I don't know what he was eating.
A nice bloody burger.
He just like went into her freezer without her permission and just started chowing down.
What if she had a cat?
Well, I mean, she didn't mention having any animals, so I hope. I don't know, maybe he found a rat. No?
Maybe neighbor.
I guess a vampire could kind of be like a pet cat. You just keep one around and they just eat the pest for you.
Yeah. Like a house pet.
Yeah, my pet vampire.
There's a story. My pet vampire.
I mean, isn't that what? That's kind of like Bunnicula. I was actually afraid of Bunnicula as a kid, even though Bunnicula is like completely harmless. I mean, Bunnicula's kind of mean, but it only ever ate carrot juice, so not a danger to anyone.
No danger at all.
Do you know what Bunnicula is?
Not a clue.
It's a children's story about a vampiric bunny, but the bunny just like sneaks into its owner's fridge and like sucks out all the juice from the vegetables. And it's framed like a horror story from the viewpoint of the other pets.
That
It,
sounds like a
it was
cool
a
little
pretty
story.
good read, actually. I liked it.
I like it. Just the sound of it sounds interesting.
You should go give it a read.
Indeed.
Anyway. Yeah. Okay, let's go. He walked out the door and I followed, locking it and triple checking that I had everything. This time the driveway wasn't as slick and I was getting into a white Grand Cherokee instead of a black 4Runner. Didn't it say it was a Jeep? Or something?
Cherokee.
Yeah, it said it was a white Jeep. Is that a Jeep? I don't know. I don't know my car models. I can't drive.
Cherokee is a model of Jeep. Yeah.
Hey, just quick. Oh my god, okay. Okay, I don't actually use Reddit that often. I put my suitcase and backpack in the trunk, taking my phone charger out in case I needed it. I got into the passenger seat, deciding to sleep for the entire car trip. Luckily, it only took a minute to fall asleep. You really feel safe sleeping with some dude you just met who Googled where you lived and then booked a cruise for you 3 hours away?
I never questioned a thing.
Okay. I woke up a few hours later to a large parking lot, full of various types of cars and dozens of people with suitcases filtering into a large line leading to a cruise ship. You ready to go? Yep. We got out, grabbing our suitcases and entering the line. The sun was just beginning to rise. After about half an hour, we were nearly at the front of the line. It was 3 hours away. Oh, half an hour in line. It's 5 hours. This is such a waste of time. Why would you ever do this?
People, I
I
guess.
I booked a luxury suite. We get free wine and unlimited pool access. Wow, okay. About 5 minutes later, we reached the front and a check-in lady was waiting for us. Hello, can I have the name on your reservation? Mason Cruz. Alright, looks like I got you two on the 5th deck, room 208. Here's your room, your welcome packet, and the extra key will be in your room. Enjoy your stay. I noticed that her eyes were bright red and her canines appeared to be extremely sharp. Weird. And you noticed this, but you don't like spare a second thought as like, dude, googling your house or anything. Okay.
Also, red eyes, not exactly normal.
Oh, maybe she has an
Well,
eye
maybe in this
infection.
universe.
Don't judge her.
Or she wears contacts. What was she wearing? Was she in like Victorian goth garb?
You realize this implication that this entire cruise is run by vampires is just a very funny idea.
Yeah.
Of all the businesses, why a cruise ship? Man.
Especially sunlight
And
is,
I feel like
you
if you're
know,
gonna do like an isolated tourism setting, you should probably rent in the mountains, like do a lodge or something instead. I
yeah.
guess. I mean, it's a change of pace. Mm.
Yeah, I guess it would be a little cliche, right?
Thank you. We approached the elevator and entered it, Mason pressing the 6 button. The elevator began to trip upwards. Suddenly, Mason lunged at me and I passed out. Wow, he. I feel like this entire trip was really unnecessary. Like, he could have just eaten. Eaten her back at the house. And I mean that literally. Before YouTube tries anything. I woke up in his arms, walking down what seemed to be a hallway on the ship. I was stunned for a moment, slowly remembering the events of the past 24 hours. The date, him appearing at my door at 3 in the fucking morning, I thought you said it was 2. And the red tint in his teeth. Red tint in his teeth? Wait! I screamed, Mason dropping me due to being shocked. I quickly got up, sprinting down the hall, blindly. Mason somehow caught up to me before I reached the end of the hallway, essentially scooping me up so I couldn't run away. What the hell are you doing? I know
What the fuck happened at the end of the story?
I know that you're a fucking vampire and I'm trying to run away before you murder me. What? I'm not a vampire. What are you talking about? He started carrying me back to where our room was, grabbing the luggage and unlocking the door. He then tossed me into the bed, disappearing into the bathroom for a while before coming back and getting into bed with me. So I guess we're official now? I guess. Well then, I'm going to sleep. With that, the room was quiet, except for the sound of the air conditioner in the ocean. What? 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 I don't understand. What is this? What is this turn of events? This flow of the conversation?
It started out so good.
Why?
You hit that snag with the trip, and it's kind of
For a second, I
gone.
thought the plot twist was that he actually wasn't a vampire and he just has a weird kink or something. but in the end, it's just like, I'm not a vampire. And she's just not gonna question. She's not gonna be like, prove it. She's just like, okay, I guess we're dating.
Just straight up, okay.
Okay.
No. What the hell?
Wait, what?
My dad is a chair.
You know, I guess we have to read that one now.
The title doesn't lie.
That's a title. That's a title, alright.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm pretty disappointed. That could have gone like a true story situation where you just met someone who you thought was a vampire, but actually they're just a human with, very specific tastes.
And very aggressive.
And regardless, you should probably be calling the cops on that one, because, yeah. Finding your address is not okay.
Yeah, I'd say no.
Alright. Wait, let me close this first. This got bother me. Wait, no, it's got redirect me. Reddit, why are you like this? Okay, never mind. Okay, I guess it's fixed now. I don't like the way Reddit is formatted.
It's a little iffy.
Alright. My dad is a chair. The title doesn't lie. My dad is a chair. To be specific, he's a fully upholstered bright orange angel accent living room chair. The kind with wooden legs you'd find in any three-piece suit from the 70s. He's pretty comfortable, truth be told. Why are you sitting on your dad? A little lumpy in places, but his padding is soft. Warm, too. He's always warm. There's also the telltale ba-thump, ba-thump, ba-thump coming from his back cushion. Oh my god, I hate that sound. That's like anti-asthma for me. I hate that. I hate the sound of heartbeats. A steady rhythm at my lumbar to remind me I'm sitting in no ordinary chair. And I should probably get out because that's kind of weird. He wasn't always a chair. Until last year, he was Kevin the accountant. He was 51, slightly overweight, and generally seemed to enjoy life as a human. You know, it is more free than being a chair.
Yeah.
He was married to Mom. He still is, but, well, as you can imagine, it's a little complicated now. It was funny at first. He came home from work one day and just sat in a corner of the living room. When we'd ask him why he was sitting on the floor and not the $4,000 cream leather couch, he'd just smile and say, "It feels right here."
Can I just say, how much was that fucking chair or couch?
That's the couch.
4,000?
You know,
Excuse me?
when you're an accountant and you want a leather couch, I guess that's what happens. You spend $4,000.
Not me.
Are you an accountant, though?
No.
Exactly.
No.
It stopped being funny the morning he didn't go to work. Turns out he hadn't slept the night before. He'd been watching a movie with Mom, but hadn't gone with her to bed. She left him sitting in his spot, unsuspicious of the "I'm not tired, I'll be up a little later" lie. She and I both begged him to get up, but he refused to move. Phoned in sick at work, the whole deal. Just spent the day sitting on the floor in his corner. I kept asking him what was wrong, why he wouldn't get up except to use the bathroom, and he just kept saying, No, this feels right. But I mean, I admire the fact that he at least still went to the bathroom.
Yeah. And then just, like, sit there.
Mom phoned the doctor around the third day of this. He stopped eating or drinking, you see. Stopped getting up to use the bathroom, too. Surprisingly, though, there weren't as many, accidents as you'd think. Once he'd allowed the last of the food and drink to leave him, it seemed to stop coming. We also didn't hear his belly growl despite going a day and a half without food. The doctor couldn't make sense of it. Their first guess was that it was psychosomatic, but that wouldn't explain the absence of digestive activity exposed by the stethoscope. They said they'd be back to take some blood samples in a few days after they
Yeah?
liaised with some colleagues. Unfortunately, as I said, this was last year, 2020. We never heard back from the doctor thanks to the virus that shall not be named. I guess guy with gut troubles who refuses to move is low on the priorities list during a global pandemic. Like, I make sounds when I need to swallow or something. A lot of reading. I need to drink water.
Water?
Unlike Kevin the accountant. Somehow, Mom managed to wrangle long-term sick leave with Dad's company. Decades of loyal employeeism combined with Mom's attendance of every company BBQ and softball game helped Mr. Bannerfrag buy the unexplained stomach concern requiring hospitalization excuse. I'll never forget that phone call. At the time, Dad losing his job was the worst-case scenario for both of us. He'd always been the breadwinner. Neither of us could support ourselves without him. He'd lose the house in under a year. Dad didn't seem too perturbed by Mom's frantic pacing or the lies she warned through the phone to Mr. Bannerfrag. He just stared at the wall serenely, hovering his butt half a foot from the carpet, balancing with his legs bent and his hands flat on the ground behind him, like a chair. That's very uncomfortable.
I could never do that. That's too much.
That night, I fell asleep listening to Mom yelling at Dad. He never yelled back. We started noticing the physical changes a few days later. That's when we realized this wasn't psychosomatic. Unfortunately, our shitty best insurance deal on the market doctor wasn't picking up the phone. We'd get passive aggressive emails informing us they were waiting to hear back from colleagues, but that was it. This was not good. Especially not when the joints in Dad's arms and legs had fused. The not goodness of the doctor's silence increased to thousandfold when we sent photos of Dad's hands and feet flaking off like discarded spider husks the following week. Did the response change? No. We got a very snippy email about shortages on ICU wards and the critical international situation. Mom's shouting match with the chief of medicine, the one she demanded her way up to the phone chain to speak to, didn't change things. We were on our own. This is a very real situation they're describing.
Relatable to current events. Except for the dad turning into a chair.
I mean, you don't know that. This could be a true story. I'm being pretty convinced that it is, considering how they talked about the state of healthcare right now. That's exactly what it's like.
Yeah.
What do you mean your dad's turning into a chair? What? Well, yeah, I can see video evidence of him turning a chair. I don't care. Mom spent all her time in the living room with Dad. I'd help her wash him, try and make him eat, talk to him when she'd tire it out, and fall asleep on the rug. Every day of this routine brought with it new changes in Dad's body. It started with his limbs, as you can probably guess. When his hands and feet fell off, there was no blood. They flaked apart, crusty and dry and brittle throughout. Even the bones of his toes and fingers had the density and consistency of dead skin. The wrists and ankles they left behind were smooth and hard. It was difficult to tell whether we were looking at flesh or exposed bone. The dark shining surface seemed to be blended to his normal arm at the base of the stumps. This discoloration would rise further up his limbs daily, and before long I awoke to see Dad's head and torso fused to the wooden chair legs supporting my weight while I write this. Why are you sitting on him?
Why?
Why are you sitting on him while writing this? Very strange.
That's borderline psychotic?
And I love body horror. It's fun. Well, I use the term Dad's head and torso in the loosest possible sense. By the time his limbs were completely replaced, the rest of him had undergone a slow, harrowing transformation of its own. His shoulders and the arms attached to them descended lower and lower. They found their final resting place at Dad's pelvis, sat squarely behind his rigid legs. The chest area they'd left behind had its own problems. Day by day, Dad's neck retracted further inwards. It didn't stop when his jaw met collarbone, either. It pulled Dad's head deep into his rib cage. His face flattened as the skull supporting it sank, forcing his eyes to point in opposite directions. Okay.
No.
That's the first sentence that made me feel uncomfortable.
I can just imagine it. It's
Yep.
stomach churning.
Yep. Eventually, they slid down to where his nipples once lay, resting glassy. I knew you would just laugh. Glassy and vacant on his pecs. The change wasn't quick enough to break his jaw, though. Instead, it bent outward, its hinges spreading wide across Dad's broad chest. Okay, I can't imagine this. I'm not sure I want to.
Nope.
Each morning, I'd find Mom sobbing over a fresh and necessary piece of himself he'd discarded. Hair, ears, nose, his thingy. All of them flaked off and crumbled to dust in her hands. That's really funny.
Poor Mom.
That's really funny.
That dusty old man.
He lost the ability to speak as his head withdrew. Unsurprising, though, right? He made his intentions clear before he went. The last words he ever said to me: "Don't cry.
It feels
I
right.
am Chair. Always was Chair. Happy as Chair."
Return to monkey.
That was the worst part, I think. Knowing that whatever the fuck was happening to Dad, he wasn't resisting it. That way, when he got that initial urge to sit in the corner and not get up, he didn't fight it. That he was happy this way. The implication being that when he was a human, when he was a father and a husband and accountant, he wasn't. Sadly, I still don't know why or how Dad became a chair. I didn't post any photos, you see. Mom wouldn't let me. Didn't want the embarrassment. Wanted to keep Dad's dignity intact. But I thought, but he wants to be a chair, you know? He's not really gonna be embarrassed by this.
No, he's gonna be happy.
Thing is, I agreed with her and kind of still do. I'm glad I didn't go to the socials with pics of Dad at various stages of his journey. Temptation was there to see if anyone could help. Nobody could have, though, could they? I mean, did you try contacting the SCP organization? They might have been able to do something.
The SCP?
Foundation. Look. Dad would have become just another internet circus freak. I've done enough research and digging over the months to know that whatever happened to Dad, he's the only one. Well, almost only. Mom's own changes started around the time Dad's skin was rethreading into orange fabric, and his eyes had hardened into plastic buttons. Her change was a little different. It started in her torso, stretching her day by day while she remained in crab pose. I must say, she makes a great couch. You have a $4,000 leather couch. Why? What? Man. Her transformation may have been a little more distressing, but the end result is better. Sorry, Dad. It is what it is. Mom's a better chair than you. I think the worst part with Mom was the despondency. Dad was so serene as he changed. Mom, though, Mom wouldn't stop weeping. Quiet sobs. Tears that fell for a few days, even after her own eyes had become flat plastic. She wasn't crying because of the change, though, I think. I think it was because she wouldn't get to see how beautiful I'll look when I go through my own metamorphosis. Thing is, I get it now. Dad was right. He was chair. Mom was couch. I am coffee table. I always was. I was scared at first when I realized. The truth hit me like a piano dropped from the Empire State Building. Wow, I like that comparison. I was scrubbing the last of Mom's remaining human skin when it struck through every bone in my body, just as it must have done both Dad and Mom. I spent that whole night sitting on Dad.
I don't know about this story.
Tears falling down my cheeks, staring at my spot. I didn't want it to be true. I screamed for it not to be, more than once. I couldn't deny the facts I knew deep down to my bones, though. That spot, the space on the rug in front of chair Dad and couch Mom, is for me. It's mine, where I belong. Unlike blissfully accepting Dad and weeping, resigning Mom, I fought it for a few days. I'm not like them. I'm only 17. I've had dreams, ambitions, goals. I wanted to go to college, settle down, marry some lucky guy, be a mom. I wasn't ready to give up my human form. I spent my nights begging for more time. Nothing answered. The urges didn't abate. My awareness of reality now the illusions had been swept away was too great. When I have slept this last week or so, my dreams have always been the same. I dreamt of true reality, of how I now know things should be. I dream of me in my place, my body elongated and wooden and flat, as is right, as is correct, as is natural. I have long, blissful slumbers, filled with the feeling of hot ceramic mugs on my tabletop and thick carpet beneath my 4 legs. I can't fight it anymore. I'm posting this here, but also printing it out to leave as a note for the removal guys. I want them to be careful with us when the bank repossesses the house and we end up in storage. Please, keep us together if you can. We're a set. Dad's sick leave ended months ago. As you can imagine, the foreclosure notices have been piling up. I stopped caring about the pile of mail under the door around the time that Mom's ribcage split and flattened into her wide pinstripe velvet upholstered back. I haven't been hungry in days, or thirsty. I'm not even sure if I'm breathing now that I think about it. I'm still scared, but I've come to accept that this is the way things have to be. I don't know why, they just do. Maybe it's a curse. Maybe this house is buried on some ancient ritual site. Maybe it's just some freak anomaly of physics. I don't think that's what that is. Who knows? Whatever the reason, I have to suck it up and accept the way things are. This body, this walking, wobbling mass of skin and bone and ghibli bits, that I love so much, isn't right. It isn't mine. I'm not meant for it anymore. Once I post this and print the copy for the removal guys, I'm going to get in my spot. That's just a case of closing my eyes and waiting. I can already feel my limbs pulling inward, my thighs and upper arms sliding to where they'll meet at my navel in a few days. There's a...
Navel.
Look, man, I don't know. There's a tugging on the back of my knees where They'll bend in on themselves, and all 20 of my fingers and toes grow number with each hour that passes. Do I have any regrets? Thousands. There's so much I'll never get to do. To see, to go, to be. I can't hide from the truth, though. Not anymore. I am coffee table.
I am coffee table.
That was a very good story. I like that.
Kept us hooked more than the zombie girlfriend one.
I like this comment. Wow, you write really well for a coffee table. I never thought the day would come, but today is the day I realized a coffee table is a better writer than I am. Life is full of surprises.
When you can go through an entire story like that.
I feel like this is trying to make you paranoid of your furniture. It's like, what if your table used to be a person?
What will you become when it is your time?
I mean, are you would you be affected? Someone has to use the furniture. Not everyone can just be furniture.
Firewood.
That's more like eating.
Junkyard. Scrap heap. Left to rot in the weather.
Should I scroll through the recent posts or should I keep going through this list? Because these have not been great. I'll be real with you.
I feel like a weird broadcast turned my whole town into zombies. Could be 50-50, but I'm not,
See, it says the entire thing in the title, though.
Yeah. Let's go with my grandpa. Let's see how that is.
I think this is the real 50-50 because it could just be a nothing story. Or it could be weird. Why is the text like this? Why? Oh my god, this is old Reddit? What? Why? Why is it on old Reddit? This is weirding me out.
Submitted 1 month ago.
But why is it on oldreddit.com?
I don't know.
It's a 2021 one.
Your guess is as good as mine?
I'm just scanning it to see if this is what I actually want to read. Because these are so long, it wrecks my throat a little bit.
Have you been properly hydrating?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not a good story. Well, oh my god, a 12-part series. Oh my god.
They're dedicated to that one.
Mm-hmm.
I do declare.
Oh, I do like doll stories.
Let's do it.
Although, I can tell this is probably like everyone turns into dolls or something. Do you want to help me read for a little bit while I recover? Too much. Too much.
I'll do this one. Hold on, I have water. Sit. The cursed dollhouse. We were almost done cleaning our new home. Only that attic was left. We were putting it off till there was nothing else left to do. Addicts creeped us both out. After an hour of coughing, lungs full of dust, inhaling random bugs into our mouth, spiders tickling our neck, webs hanging from our clothes. We were completely on edge. So when his fingers brushed my hand, jumping 4 feet into the air was a natural outcome. Losing my balance, I crashed into the side of the plaster ga- and and the plaster gave way. I landed into a well-hidden cubbyhole. Hands on our hips, we surveyed the belongings of the time capsule we had inadvertently opened. Things in the cubbyhole were well preserved, untouched by the hands of time. There were trinkets, but the main attraction was a pristine dollhouse, an exact replica of the house we were in. We peered inside to see two dolls peering back at us from the attic. They looked a bit like us. What are the chances, we thought. We brought it down to the kitchen. It was too beautiful to be left in the attic. Exhausted, we slept as soon as our heads hit the pillow. When I came down the next morning, my husband was hunched over the dollhouse. I checked over his shoulder to see a small baby doll in a pink gown looking up at us as the two older dolls were lying in a heap in the kitchen. That wasn't there before, I exclaimed. He turned so fast that we both crashed onto the floor, all arms and legs. That is when the doorbell chimed. We opened the door to a little girl in a pink gown. She looked like the baby doll. We looked at each other. Did the dollhouse foreshadow this? We're being silly, right? Mama, Papa, I'm back, the little girl said. We tried explaining we weren't her mom and dad, but she just hugged me, and well, she was adorable. I was very happy to play mom to Gia, but my husband had doubts. Doubts? Like,
Yeah.
yeah?
I mean, what a random little girl shows up to your house is like, Mom and Dad, and you're like, what? I don't remember giving birth to you.
Yeah, I'd have some doubts there too. Hmm. One day, while she slept, we had our first argument. Who is she? Where did she come from? He asked. How does it matter? We wanted a kid, and there she is. Don't you just love her? I asked. No, I don't. This whole situation is creepy. He huffed, turned, and slept. He didn't come down the next day. While I made lunch, Gia played with the dollhouse. I gasped when I saw her throw the male doll from the roof. Oh. The doll's leg bent at an awkward angle. Same instant, I heard my husband shout. I ran out to see him clutching his leg as he writhed in pain. Yeah, his leg was broken. He later told me he felt as if a hand plucked him from the balcony and threw him off it. I was very stressed. I'd taken care of everything on my own, so when Gia broke my grandmother's urn, I shouted at her. She looked at me angrily, her eyes dilating into black discs before she ran off. Immediately feeling guilty and afraid, I ran after her. She turned and grinned at me as she taped a toy cleaver to the male doll's hand and walked him down to the kitchen. Mm. Sam, run! My husband's pained voice called out from behind me. There he
Definitely,
stood
I
as
hear the
if
pain.
propelled. Ah, ah. There he stood as if propelled by a force, arms swinging a cleaver, broken legs supporting his twisted frame as he tried to fight whatever it was. It was too strong, and he lunged towards me. I remember screaming, and I ran towards the old broom closet. I just managed to close it as he pounded the door. I switched on the bulb in the dank, cramped closet. As I rocked on my haunches, that's when I saw it. Scribbled behind me, the frame was a note. Hide the cursed, indestructible dollhouse in the cubbyhole and cover it well on a moonless night. That is the only way to stop Gia. Save yourself.
Okay, but how did they know that? Like,
And where's that? I mean, they had to have died there, right? I mean,
what? So
evidence of another.
you're telling me someone somehow understood all that information and basically sealed the dollhouse and saved themselves, and then didn't say anything about it for the next homeowners or anything?
Right?
I mean, this isn't a bad story, but it's a little too straightforward.
It needs more.
Yeah,
Let's keep her. Who? Don't question anything. Let's keep her.
yeah, I would not read the continuation to this, so I won't.
No.
Oh
Look,
boy, what about YouTubers?
And what about a great grandmother's attic?
I relate more to YouTubers than a murder in my
Yeah.
great grandmother's attic. I don't. I mean,
What?
my great grandmother is not over here, so I don't think their houses exist anymore. Anyway, they've probably been like repossessed by the government and bulldozed their land.
Oof.
Yeah.
I feel that.
There's the ad. Squarespace. Oh, I like the sound of this one. I like it when stories make me paranoid of being in my own home. Anyway, let's read about YouTubers. Drama kills. You might call this a confession, but it's not. Not really, because I have no intention of identifying myself or leaving a trail that some overzealous investigator can follow to me. It's also possible that you're reading this because I am no longer among the living. Who knows? Who cares? Oh yeah, that's a YouTuber for you.
Yep.
Getting to the point, I'm a YouTuber. Some would consider me a veteran YouTuber. I'm among the few thousand YouTubers who earn enough money for the IRS to pay attention. I think there's more than a few thousand at this point.
Yeah. Anyone who makes any money off that are gonna have their eyes peeled on by the IRS.
I can't complain. I suppose you'll complain if I make this post entirely about how much money I make. What it's really
Yes.
about is how I managed to cause the death of a fellow YouTuber. I'm gonna read this like a YouTuber now. If you're a fan of this person, you definitely know about her death. It didn't make front page news, so most regular people aren't even aware of it. She was streaming live right before it happened. Instead of using her channel name or real name, I'll refer to her as Scarlet. The first thing you're probably saying is that this is a lot of bullshit. If somebody was murdered on a live feed, it would have made international news. I never said she was murdered while the stream was live. It happened after, and her death was not ruled a homicide. If they eventually find out about my involvement, they'll also find out that I may have accomplices, possibly thousands. So you did murder. Okay, you murdered a person. All right. In the early days of YouTube, it paid to be edgy, literally. It still does now, but it's more of a double-edged sword. I must admit that I partook in such activities, but I didn't see my subscribers grow, in number, not weight, until I started collaborating with larger channels. Scarlett launched her channel around the same time I started mine. I never had the opportunity to collaborate with her, but I did find myself using her methods as a guide. Something about her drew people in, and it translated to her online presence quite well. It was this quality that also attracted haters to her like flies on shit. To the amazement of most, she didn't appear to be fazed by them. As a matter of fact, it was almost like Scarlett thrived on the hate. She became good at responding to comments with an occasional zinger that would go viral. The hater would eventually end up thanking her and becoming friends because of the resulting traffic to their channel. Throw that lemon at them and see if they can turn it into whatever. As the drama channel started becoming more popular, it turned into a competition to see which one could get Scarlett worked up enough to flame them. Worked up to flame them. Sometimes this tactic would backfire. Every now and then a drama channel would take things a little too far, forgetting that she had an army of ravenous fans. The onslaught was sometimes painful to watch. Eventually Scarlett would step in. We assumed the hater had begged her for mercy, at which time she'd admonish her fans for doing the very thing they had criticized. She had total control of her mob, except for that one time.
That one time.
Oh, okay, I need water.
Drink some water. No, I feel that. It's like, even at work, talking a lot. Like, for some reason here, it's just like talking a bit. It's like throat.
Yep. Scarlett committed the cardinal sin of defending the rights of some of her haters to say things, even if they were highly offensive. She followed this up by reminding people of the things she would say during her edgier phase. All of her old videos are still available on an archive channel. Some existed as captured vines. Oh my god, that platform is dead. That loyal fans posted after the fall of that platform. Okay. It was at this time that some of her more vocal followers turned against her and became haters. Many were former haters turned friends, turned haters again. It wasn't that there was a lot of them. It was how frequently they posted memes and videos against her. Her legacy enemies used this as an opportunity to pile on. They had effectively painted a scarlet letter on her forehead. While a majority of her fans remained on her side, there weren't enough of them willing to face the tidal wave on her behalf. Sadly, I became a part of that tidal wave. As a matter of fact, it was at this time that I gained the bulk of the fans that would help sustain my channel. I even created a Patreon account. It didn't occur to me what I was really profiting off of. True to form, Scarlett took the online hate as well as the physical hatred like a champ. Yes, some idiots vandalized her house. Their license plate was visible on several cameras in her neighborhood. She started live streaming a lot more around this time. I have to admit, it is entertaining to see her take down trolls in real time. They could only salivate when she told them she'd be attending VidCon that year to promote her new book. She rarely made public appearances, so the announcement alone further boosted her brand. She promised she would address the controversy at the event. This would ensure attendance by some of the worst of her haters. That room would contain the most volatile mixture in all of VidCon. I wasn't going to miss it. When the time came, I drove there with a few friends. One of them was a fellow YouTuber with a smaller following than mine, who I encouraged to come along. When we arrived, I noticed it wasn't much different from the only other one I attended a couple of years prior. Being one of the older YouTubers, I wasn't starstruck like so many of the Gen Zers who could barely contain themselves. I felt almost out of place despite meeting many creators who were older than me. While getting ready for Scarlett's event, my heart was pounding. You would think that I was going to be speaking. My friend and I arrived early with our special passes. Partners with over 250k subs could sit in a reserved section away from the lowly fans. Security was very tight since this was only a year after Christina Grimmie was killed. I don't know who that is. May she rest in peace, I don't care.
Yeah.
The energy in that room was something otherworldly. Everyone knew Scarlett had people there who hated her, or at least claimed to hate her. But there was no way to tell by looking at the crowd. I felt almost embarrassed for being just as excited as the rest of the audience. Plebs.
I really hate this gal.
I mean, I don't actually know if this is a girl, though. It could be a man or an NB. You never know, man.
Mm,
I'm just reading it like someone very obnoxious.
it's working.
Good. Although I'm pretty sure everyone knew the tension building was orchestrated, it didn't take away from the excitement. The room was a convention hall, but the roar could have matched a sports arena when she entered the stage. I'm not gonna lie, I screamed along with everyone else. Once the noise died down, Scarlett went right into it. When I say right into it, I mean she didn't ride the high note of her entry into exciting, crowd-pleasing rhetoric. She went directly into addressing the controversial remarks. You know, the only part of this that's taking me out is the fact that, like, she's this person is narrating it with words that are too complicated for a typical YouTuber.
Yeah. They
They would not be this wordy.
No. They would use a lot of simplistic wording.
And there would be a lot of memeing and, like, very dated references and slang, and there's none of it here.
Maybe they're just new age.
No one was sure how to react. I hate this cliche, but you literally could have heard a pin drop. Somebody in the center of the room coughed one too many times and drew glares from half the crowd. It was at this moment that I understood why Scarlett was as famous as she was. There's something some people notice when they meet certain YouTube creators face to face. They come off as less exciting than they appear in their videos. That's because they use jump cuts to create this rapid-fire dialogue. People who meet them in person expect the same energy before realizing they sound like any other person when they talk. Scarlett didn't use jump cuts in any of her videos. It's like they were watching uncut live feeds filled with the mistakes, the ramblings, and the pauses when she's thinking of the right thing to say. They also got the offensive comments when not much thought went into what she was saying. Her stage performance could have been filmed and posted directly to her channel. It sounded like she always sounds. Unrehearsed, uncut. It's like she was having a one-on-one conversation with a friend who happened to be you. Her fans ate it up. I can't call it an apology because it wasn't. Not even close. Her dressing down of the controversy only lasted about 20 minutes, but it was masterful. By the time she finished, I was 100% sure she won over every hater and former fan in that room. Without her saying it directly, everyone realized that, at some point in their lives, they had been guilty of transgressions. That is not a word YouTubers would use, similar to what
Nope.
they accused her of. The difference is that most people don't speak to an audience of millions every week. The question is, what do you do when you're called on your shit? Do you continue creating more? Do you make a change? Do you remove yourself from the public eye forever? After that first 20 minutes, it was like somebody cut a taut bungee cord. Nobody would say that either. We sat for the next hour mesmerized by Scarlett's channel in real life. She engaged with the audience. They engaged with her in a way that her online audience never could. You're dead.
I.
You wanna give it a try and take over for me for a bit?
So where are we at right here?
At the top of the page.
Oh. At the end, she did a book signing. The line was extra long, but my friend and I got it in. Got in it. What passed the time was that Scarlett's fans had a chance to stand in line with some of their other favorite creators. I'm not big enough to be recognized in the real world, but here felt like a mini star. I also got a few glares from some of Scarlett's fans. Probably didn't like my critiques of her. When I finally got to the table, my palms were completely clammy. I kept them in my pockets and didn't even shake her hand.
Yeah, that's
I told
very
her that I was one
immersive.
of her I told her that I was one of her critics, but still wanted to meet her. She said she didn't recognize me at all, but she invited me to attend a roundtable with some YouTube executives later that evening. I could have fainted. Her manager set me up with a single pass with my name etched on it. I would have to attend alone. Yeah, a YouTube execs? Nah, I don't see that happening. At this point, things got a little weird. It's not for the reasons you might think. My friend dropped me off at the hotel where the meeting would take place. I found myself in the lobby with 11 other YouTubers. I recognized most of them as creators with 10 million or more subscribers. Why was I invited? I barely had 300k. This time my heart was pounding for a different reason. I was convinced I was being set up, but slinking away from an invite alongside people with a combined audience of over 100 million was probably not a good idea. Most they mostly talked among each other. I didn't have much to say, but a few of them were kind enough to pull me into the conversation. After a while, someone came downstairs to confirm that we had all passes. We all had passes. English.
I know
We
it's
were taken
hard.
up. It's very hard, man.
Yeah, I kept tripping up over the use of engaged twice in a sentence. I was like, how?
At least for me, I'm lucky with the simple wording now, for the most part. We were taken up to a conference room on the sixth floor where Scarlett and three executives were already sitting. Actually, I wouldn't call them executives. They're more like mid-level marketing managers and a public relations type person.
How would you know
Right?
this though? You never meet the YouTube higher ups.
Right?
They don't have time for you. You wouldn't know who they were.
That's not like they're gonna have like a tag on their thing that has a long ass title on it of like what they are, or a little nameplate. Ugh, the discussion was pretty boring, but I sensed that I was sitting in on something that I wasn't meant to witness. It was like I was some kind of imposter,
Among
but
Us.
everyone in the room knew the same thing I was. There, there's an imposter among us.
It's me.
Maybe it's Scarlet. Who knows?
I mean, you know what they
But
say, red is sus.
always sus, dude. Throw out red immediately, brah. But everyone in the room knew exactly who and what I was. Needless to say, I didn't contribute much to the conversation. When the meeting was over, Scarlett invited us to dinner. Although nervous, I said, hell yeah. Scarlett kept checking on me to make sure I was okay. I was starting to have my doubts about her not recognizing me. It wasn't an arrogance thing. Thousands of her fans knew who I was from the one video I had that went viral. Something was up. We got to the restaurant, and they already had tables joined together for us in the back. Scarlett ended up sitting next to me. I was such a wreck, I couldn't eat. I just kept taking sips of water every few seconds. My mouth was still dry, with my tongue stuck to the roof of my mouth. I was just waiting for the barrage of accusations and insults. They never came. Everyone was so nice and welcoming to me. My paranoia switched to thinking everyone was putting on a show to influence me to post about my wonderful time with Scarlett. Damn influencers. Few of them even took pics of us together. I started getting some weird religious vibes of 12 disciples with me as the Judas. No, no. You're just paranoid. It was refreshing to see the off screen personalities of these creators. I kept looking for the off screen version of Scarlett, but I never saw it. Wasn't there. Even I had never been able to pull that off. And I'm considered one of the real ones. She was such a larger than life person that I forgot that she was still a regular person like all of us. She never brought up anything about haters or the drama. It was like once she had finished talking about it on stage, she was done and had moved on. As we talked more and more, the conversation shifted toward ghost stories and paranormal experiences. Several people told us stories that didn't seem all that scary to me. Mind you, I have a dark personality and have an obsession with the occult, so it would take a lot to do that. Scarlett managed to creep me out more than all the others combined. She had told a story that I won't recite in its entirety. Here, for the very reason why her story creeped me out. Scarlett was convinced that some kind of presence had been following her around for the previous month. She started waking up in the middle of the night, feeling like something was in the room with her. There were a few jokes and nervous laughs around the table, but when she told everyone that she was now seeing things, silence fell across everyone. It's something when a person you admire starts sounding crazy. It's like 99.99% of people that you see on an average basis, especially when they're popular.
And that's why you just don't admire anyone.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can't go back to reading because I'm gonna die after again.
Okay.
Scarlett told us about an incident that scared her a few nights prior. You know, this voice is actually easier to do than normal speaking.
That's pretty sad.
It's because it kind of stays high, and I never have to go down. If that makes sense, it's like more consistent. I don't think that makes sense to you.
Nope. My brain's just like tick tock, tick tock.
She was driving back from an event on a 2-lane road with a very steep embankment and no railing. It's because I don't really have to worry about, like, actually.
You know the larger words.
Yeah, I just slur my words. I don't have to be clear. I like it. I'm not gonna talk like this normally, though. The radio was off and her phone was dead. She heard a distinct whisper over her shoulder. When she looked in her rearview mirror, she saw the shape of someone sitting behind her. The face was hidden in shadows. She sharply swerved the car as she looked over her shoulder. Thankfully, she slammed on her brakes just at the right time. She was within inches of sending her Tesla down a 60-foot drop. Oh my gosh, she has a Tesla.
Oh shit, she's rich.
She told us that she felt the presence of something in that car. She got out and checked the back seat to make sure no one was pranking her. No one was there. I wish I could read the thoughts of everyone at that very quiet table. As much as she shared on her channel, she hadn't mentioned anything about this. She was clearly unnerved and truly believed something was in that car. Instead of getting back in, she flagged someone down to call a friend to pick her up. Is she having a psychotic breakdown? One other person and I rode back to the hotel with Scarlett. She told us that she wouldn't mind if we shared her story. The only stipulation was that we didn't use her name or channel name. That was an odd request, but I am honoring it in this post. 2 days later, Scarlett was dead. Those who know about her death also are aware of the infamous live stream. During the stream, the shadow of someone could be seen behind her, but it didn't quite look like a shadow. It looked like a ghost, you know. Because I know what ghosts look like. It's pretty normal.
Like a person.
It gradually made its appearance a few seconds before the end of the stream. Most viewers just figured someone was in the room with her. Almost an hour later, her boyfriend found her dead, sitting in the chair where she was streaming. He called 911 immediately before trying to perform CPR on her. I mean, he found her dead, though. That's kind of, okay.
How did you know she was dead first, you know?
You check the pulse. Although her live stream had ended, the camera was still recording until the paramedics arrived. As far as he knew, no one had been in the house. The investigators made a copy of her recording. Scarlett's boyfriend reluctantly shared it with her YouTube friends who had attended that dinner with me. It's so sad that her friends are all YouTubers. You know that's not a real friendship.
Nope. That's people you want to be friends, but nope, no, they're not.
That's your public friends. The people you want everyone to think you're friends with, but you're not. This is going on YouTube. I am sorry,
Yes.
I can't not spill tea.
It has to. It's perfect.
He made them swear not to post a copy online for obvious reasons. On the video, something shows up far more clearly than it did during the live stream. An apparition is standing behind her while she's tidying up her desk. Then she begins staring off into space for about 2 minutes before struggling to breathe. Her hands go to her throat like she's trying to remove something. I didn't want anything to do with the video, but one of the people from the dinner sent me a copy and told me I had to watch it. He gave me the settings to adjust my screen when the apparition appeared. I did as instructed. It showed up crystal clear. The thing standing behind her when she died had a face that I recognized. The face was my face. I just knew the FBI would be calling me any day. When I called Scarlett's friend back, he asked me what I saw. I was very hesitant just in case I was being implicated in something. He told me that he unquestionably saw his own face. I think everyone in this story is maybe just a little too self-absorbed.
Yeah. Like, it was my face.
Apparently, several people who had seen it saw themselves, while others only saw vague, blurry features. We didn't know what to make of it. At some point, we're going to post the video. We'll exclude the part where she dies out of respect for her family. No one knows what that thing was or why it started following her, but we have our ideas. The local police ruled her cause of death as unknown, but we're leaning towards natural causes. Her family never released a cause, and people outside of her fan base scarcely heard about her passing. She was only YouTube famous. You know what? Yeah, nowadays, if you're YouTube famous, you're world famous.
Yeah, considering YouTube is everywhere.
It only gets bigger every day. I don't welcome our Google overlords, unfortunately, because they don't know the answers to a lot of questions.
Nope.
Google's no help when you're trying to do your university homework, man.
Well, to be fair, you're not supposed to be using Google, are you?
Well, no, if you don't understand the concept, you are. You're not using it to cheat on a test, man.
That is fair.
As sad and solemn as this should be, there are plenty of hateful people expressing sentiments like rotten peace or that she choked on her own toxic personality. Although I still disagree with some things she has said over the years, I've never hated her. I could never express glee for her passing. Whatever was in her room that night frightened her to death. It also frightens me. Why is this a link? I'm not clicking it, but...
I don't...
Daryl Winfrey. I'm not clicking that.
I don't trust it.
Well, you want to start us off with this one?
Ow. Someone has been using my old headphones to contact. Someone has been using my old headphones to connect to my phone. I think they want more than my electronics. I want to start this out by saying that this story started a few years ago when I was 17 and still in high school, and the events of this have haunted me for quite a while. I still barely use technology anymore, besides Reddit or a phone call.
If you talk to an older person, they'd be like, what do you mean barely use technology? I use technology all the time. You know, to watch YouTube, and that's it.
And they say, oh, besides Reddit and a phone call, well, they're still on their phone and still on Reddit.
The fact that you know how to use Reddit already, like, that's a lot of technology compared to, like, a boomer who's like, I don't know how to change the settings on my phone. I just know how to watch YouTube.
And they also are using a VPN. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty damn technological right there as well.
But to be fair to the writer, this does sound like a 17-year-old. This is a
Yeah.
zoomer. They're like, I don't even go on Twitter 24/7. It's just Reddit all the time and a phone call, and I have VPN.
What the hell is Twitter?
But
I
you know,
got
like I'm
yeah,
not online at all.
only 99.9% of the time, but that's only all Reddit. And it makes sure that I have VPNs and many other protections, and I'm very secure with what I do online. So he's online a lot, therefore
Yeah, why do you
using
need to be secure
technology a
with what
lot.
you do online if you don't use technology?
This is already starting to hurt my brain. I wish I knew to do this when I was 17, but I unfortunately didn't. And what I didn't know is that decisions, consequences would follow me to this very day. It was almost the end of November. I was 17, as I said, and still in high school. I had my circle of friends and was somewhat content in life. I still had issues because of unrelated events, but I was for the most part a well-mannered student.
That was
I
a
was,
very
of course, a
specific,
teenager.
very specific description of yourself. Yeah, you know, issues because of unrelated events.
Does he really need to say I was, of course, a teenager after having to say twice that he was 17 at the time?
Yeah.
Eh.
Oh wait, 3 times. Three
Mm,
times.
mm.
3 times before he said that.
Immersed into the world of electronics with my phone and earbuds. About 3 months into the school year, I noticed that my headphones had mysteriously disappeared from my table. I looked everywhere for them. I asked around the office, asked the bus driver, and searched my backpack at least 6 times. But alas, they were gone. Despite all this, I had actually managed to find one of the earbuds stuck into the deep crevices of my backpack. Confused as to how I didn't find it the last 3 times of searching the damn thing, but that was all there was.
I mean,
I had
that's how earbuds work, man. You
yeah,
always
you.
lose them, and that's also how backpacks work. Any kind of
That's
storage
why.
container, you're like, what? How is this in there? I checked there like 15 times.
Oh, especially if it's a little tiny thing in a big, bag like that, and
Yep.
you're. That's why I like my earbuds. They have their own case to be put into instead of just like nothingness.
And this is about the next sentence, but fun money, fun money.
I have some of that once in a while.
No one calls it that.
How and also how the hell does he get 20 something dollar earbuds and is annoyed by losing that?
I mean, when you're poor, $20 is a lot.
Well, yeah, but earbuds, $20.
I mean, have you ever tried to order the really cheap ones off Amazon? He didn't say they were good earbuds.
No, actually, I got my earbuds off of Wish, and I love them. I have not plugged those things into charge in about 2 months, and they're still at 70% charge. So, you know, I had a low-paying job at the time to pay for college and for fun money, so I wasn't too disappointed. Just annoyed at the 20 something dollars down the drain. After realizing I would likely never get them back, I, frustrated at myself for my carelessness, reluctantly bought another pair of headphones. After that, life went on normally for about a month. I didn't even think about the old headphones that I had lost until one day I was listening to music about to get on the bus after school when the song I was listening to abruptly stopped. I looked down at my phone thinking that it was just glitching or that I had accidentally paused it, but it was still playing. Thinking it had to do with Bluetooth, I looked at the settings. 2 devices connected. What the hell, I thought. Then I remembered the old headphones. At the time, I just thought that somebody must have stolen them. I just thought to myself how pitiful you must be to steal headphones with only one earbud. But being the petty little shit I was, I decided I would fuck with the guy.
I mean, that's actually,
Do that.
yeah. This part, I like that paragraph.
Yeah,
That was very real. I
that's
see that
definitely.
happening, and I also
I
see someone. I also do see the pitiful people who do just steal completely useless things just because they can.
oh yeah, and one
Like
of the
they
best
can't
ways to.
resell it. It's worth nothing. And
Oh
it
hell
like
no.
inconveniences you a lot. But they do it just cuz.
See, now the best way to fuck with someone like that is you just like turn the volume all the way up, and just start blasting either a meme song or porn, because if it's loud enough, you will be able to easily hear the sound from an earbud
Why
from
would they
at least
steal?
feet
Why
away.
would they be listening to your music though? So, I mean, like they would have to be following you around all the time.
Yep. We'll, we'll,
uh,
we'll, we'll, we'll see if it gets to that. You know, After that, I started playing whatever I could think of, knowing they could hear it. I played ear rape and searched up the word thief to play in their ears in an attempt to let them know that I knew what they did. I even got suggestions from friends on what to do to screw with the thief. At this point, I didn't care about the headphones. I had new ones. I cared that this asshole didn't get what they wanted by stealing. I used a text to speech telling them that I wouldn't stop until they stopped using the headphones. This went on for a couple of weeks before anything happened. I was on the bus as usual. I had basically pinpointed the thief as someone on my bus and was playing videos telling the thief a whole manner of different fuck yous and found you fucker just to mess with them.
I like this.
Just to mess with them when the first sign of trouble came about. My phone suddenly started to glitch and I was greeted with the Moto phone turn on screen. Hello, Moto. But it wouldn't turn on. It would just stay on the first screen with the letter M for the most of the bus ride. This honestly freaked me out as my phone was only a few months old as I had to pay for a new one and I didn't want to have to go through that process again. At this point, he shouldn't have to buy a new one. He should just be able to get it replaced free if he had insurance on it. I mean, I would. After the bus ride was almost over, my phone finally came on. No damage was visible at that point, but it's what was invisible that got me. This fucker had somehow downloaded something into my phone. It started by glitching my system with random YouTube videos popping up while on the app, my social media opening up at random, and my game suddenly being reverted of small amounts of progress. All of this happens just enough to annoy me. Then it started getting creepy. Unnerving messages would pop up on my notes. In my notes. Google Maps would pinpoint on my home, zoomed in all the way with Google searches such as how to find someone's address and accessing the bank account of the deceased.
See, I feel like this could just be a really funny story of an asshole hacker just playing your own game with you.
Just ping ponging back and forth, and oh yeah,
Yeah, like that's it. Like searching for accessing the bank account of the deceased is just like it's such a troll thing to do.
oh yeah, especially if you know the person is seeing all this and getting paranoid about it, and being like, what the fuck? All of this started to get to me. I had been prone to paranoia before, and this felt like one of my nightmares. I'd frantically dart my eyes at the people on my bus, suspecting everyone. But my sensible side knew some uncaring kid couldn't, or rather wouldn't, do this. I started to keep watch through my window at night, worried that whatever was doing this to my phone could find me.
It's a
One night,
virus.
yeah,
No one has to actively do this to you. They just program it.
a little bit of malware here, and you're getting exactly that.
Okay, I'll do some reading again.
Okay.
One night I was home alone and on my unfortunately routine watch of my surroundings when I got a direct message from a phone number called unknown number. That's not a phone number. The message was as follows: "You should have moved on." Quickly followed by, "I can see you. Can you see me?" I was scared shitless, wondering why anyone would care this much about some petty pranks, or rather, if this was the plan, steal my stuff to find who I was and where I was. That's when I heard a loud crash from my living room. I jumped up. I tried to call the police, but only got the message: "No one can help you now." I'm still convinced this is just a troll. If I could, I would have ran out of the house like any sane person, but I was upstairs in a single-room loft with windows that couldn't open. There was no escape besides going downstairs, so I grabbed the first thing I could think of to defend myself. A metal crutch I had to use a while back and started downstairs. When I reached the bottom of the stairs, the dining room light was on and a window was broken in the living room. I walked slowly towards the front door when I noticed something: my old earbuds on the dining table. In the second I was looking at them, I heard a floorboard behind me. My eyes widened as I realized. The man threw the crutch out of my hand and then grabbed me, as I saw the shimmer of a blade going for my throat. I put my other hand up, the blade slicing deep into it instead of my neck, and let out a cry. It sliced deeper into my hand that was now the only barrier between the knife and my neck. My senses kicked in, and I did the same. You needed some periods in there, man.
Periods, commas, something to not make it just one very long.
No, that was
sentence.
they used commas instead of periods in several places there.
They need it.
They need a proofreader. That's what
help.
they need. And I did the first thing I could think of, pushing my hand forward into the knife, then headbutting the guy. Stupid, yes, but it worked. He yelled, "That's where you put a comma," clutching his face with his other hand. I took the opportunity to grab my crutch and hit him as hard as I could in the knee, hoping to disable the guy. Then I ran out my front door into the street. I then ran straight to my neighbor's house, 2 houses away, and practically broke down the door. Once they let me in, I frantically yelled to call the police. When the cops arrived, they confirmed that there was a break-in, but as for the technology, it was as if every bit of evidence was erased off the phone. They got paramedics to stitch up my head. That blade left a nasty scar. You know, the grammar is actually bothering me a lot.
It's hard.
As someone who is very good in English, I don't understand. Can't relate.
I was terrible in English class just because it was so boring.
I enjoyed it.
Like middle school, grade school, and like the first semester of high school, it was alright because I could write my own crap, and then after that, it was just like, you will write what I tell you to write, and it was just like, oh, this stuff is
English
painfully
class,
boring.
to me, was just an exercise in how well you can bullshit, and I love that. It's great. I appreciate it very much. My parents finally got back and held me as if I would be taken away if they let go. When I told them what happened, they were at first were skeptical, but they said they'd replace the phone. I downgraded myself to basically a somewhat newer flip phone. Where do you get one? I want one. I miss flip phones.
The only ones you can get now are like.
Ugh. I changed all of my passwords, deleted Google accounts, and almost stopped using technology altogether. I got a therapist, and after I turned 18, I moved out almost immediately. Not wanted.
Not wanted.
To have the same address as before. I'm sorry, it really does bother me. I got into a full ride college with scholarships. That's redundant. And not grammatically correct.
My brain hurts.
I think I'm done actually reading this. My brain hurts too.
I got this. It's almost
Why
over.
does it feel like the grammar was not as bad before, and then at the end they just gave up?
They probably did.
Yeah,
They're
you're
like,
right.
oh yeah, this is kind of bad. I'm just gonna keep going and finish it.
Yeah, I don't know. That wasn't that interesting, honestly. Yeah, I know the pun, but knowing how those sort of disorders get treated, I don't have good hopes about it, especially because it's a horror story. I feel like
Yeah,
it's just
no.
gotta be a very wrong portrayal of what it's like.
Yeah, I just like the name.
Yeah. There's the ad. My uncle Laszlo collected stamps and killed 4 people. Yeah.
Shit, if people wanted to come from my stamp collection.
Hmm.
Huh? Huh?
God damn it, Reddit does have ads. Oh well.
At least there are ones you can just kind of skip over and you don't have to sit there for 30 seconds to 2.5 minutes.
These are some very boring titles. I say this, but if you told me to make one right now, I would not be able to.
I am terrible at trying to figure out names for things. especially like out of the blue.
This title starts out interesting, and then the grammar at the end tells me too much.
They should have just stuck with, I thought I could read everyone's mind.
Yeah. Even the next part is okay. Then the man across my street ate a block of wood. But that's it. So that's...
I don't see how one thing leads to another.
Yeah, that's the point.
What they even have to do with anything.
That's the point. That's why you're interested.
I don't know.
See, this is the same concept as my dad is a chair.
My housemate is a haunted.
But I have the feeling this is not as good as my dad is a chair.
No. Definitely not.
Why are you making that sound?
Ooh.
To fill the silence.
I guess that's fair. I'm just trying to find a story that seems interesting. There's my dad is a chair.
Oh, it was found once more.
Yeah, that was a very good story, actually. I enjoyed it. And Reddit is not loading anymore. Okay. You know, this is part of No Sleep. Banks and credit cards. That's horror. That's true horror. The horror of capitalism.
And that we all pay into.
Wah, wah, wah.
No, I don't like that grammar. Like you think I'm just being like unreasonable, but generally stories with bad grammar are not good stories.
No, it makes it extremely difficult to read, and then it's just okay. This seemed all right at first, and then
And you
all
can
this
kind of
grammatical
tell
error.
if they clearly didn't have a proofreader or something. It's not a good story.
That's like my story that I tried to write. It's not good. I don't have a proofreader. I try to put too much detail into it.
That's
And it
fine.
doesn't work.
This one might be interesting only because the first sentence is "Dear fed up housewife." It seems very passive aggressive, and I'm here for it.
Could be very good.
This is a kind of horror story I like. The one with relatable people and very real monsters. Passive aggression.
Let's do it.
I was just waiting for it to load. It's still doing the loading circle of death.
Oof, I hate the loading circle of death.
See, I don't like the ones that are like, we're all in danger. Or like, this entire, the ocean is haunted. Like, that doesn't instill fear in me. Like, what?
Of course the ocean's haunted.
Okay.
We all know it's haunted.
I want more stories that make you feel unsafe in your home. Those are my favorite.
Are you sure?
Yeah, especially if they are actual real stories anyway. I guess this is loaded. Dear fed up housewife, if he doesn't realize that what you do is a full-time job, then maybe it's about time he gives it a try. I'm sure you'd be happy to go on business trips in the Bahamas while he stays at home trying to stop 3 tiny humans from putting their fingers in plug sockets or climbing in the washing machine. When do you get a break? When do you get to clock off? I suggest telling him that if things don't change, you'd be quite happy to go it alone. It sounds like you already are. I smirked. I was quite proud of that one. Dear, bemused and confused. Your boyfriend is not being honest with you. He cannot get chlamydia from a urinal, no matter how well endowed he is. Unless he's been
I like that
frolicking with
already.
koalas at the zoo, your boyfriend has been unfaithful. Get yourself to the clinic and kick him to the curb. I paused for a moment, rereading my reply. Koalas have chlamydia, right? I said to Jason, my editor. Isn't that pandas? He said. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Those are supposed to be on my desk an hour ago. This is fake news, by the way. Animals. As far as I know, I don't think any other animals have chlamydia.
You know,
It's a good comeback though. I do like that.
oh yeah. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I had no idea.
I'm nearly done. You can't rush the process. I'm changing lives here. I'm helping the vulnerable. Yes, I'm real Mother Teresa, you are. Finish them soon or I'll fill the space with Mitchell's story about the hamster who plays guitar. Oh my god, I want to read about that. An empty thread, of course. My readers would be outraged if they didn't get their dose of my agony aunt column, Dear Anita. I had space in my column for one last letter, and I was immediately drawn to a small red envelope in the pile. It read, Dear Anita, do you believe in good and evil? I've been having some dark thoughts lately. Do you think sometimes it's necessary to be the bad guy if the person on the receiving end deserves it? Why did that catch your attention? That's the most boring letter I've ever read.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sincerely, not so bad guy. I flipped it over. That was it. What a weirdo. Probably some homicidal maniac who has found his wife cheating. I put it into my pass pile. The intern would send him a sorry we have decided not to use your letter template reply. I eventually decided on the last slot. It was a teenage girl who had got pregnant but didn't want her parents to know that she had been sexually active. I advised her that unless she can convince her parents that the angel Gabrielle came visiting in the middle of the night, they were going to find out at some point. Yeah, I really like this protagonist, actually.
Yeah.
Comes with some really good lines. Better a surprise now than a surprise some months down the line when she returns from the bathroom with a newborn hanging out of her. I forgot all about that little red envelope until a week later when another identical one arrived on my desk. I'm gonna drink some water again.
More water. I should do that eventually.
Have you not been hydrating?
Not particularly.
What is it's
My
a
last
yes.
bit of water I drank earlier.
It's a yes or no answer. Go get more water.
I need to grab my water bottle from my bag to fill up my other water bottle. Hold on.
What kind of process is this?
Well, I usually drink like 2 bottles of water a day. And one happens to be from a Dasani water bottle that I pour into my other bottle.
I drink several liters of water a day.
I drink about 40 to 60 ounces of water. Give or take.
I think I'm the weird one for staying hydrated all the time. Everyone else I know never drinks water. I'm like, what? How are you alive?
I try to. But, doesn't always happen.
I drink water on default.
I think something is wrong with my headset now. Oh boy.
Ugh.
Unless I... Oh, because my audio is only coming through my left.
Well.
Oh, nope, there it is. I just pulled the wire a little bit.
Well, as long as some dude with bad grammar doesn't start coming after you.
Oh, you know. Never. Not me. I'm grabbing my water.
I guess I'll look for more potential stories to read. In the meantime. Why does Reddit have so many not safe for work stuff? I mean, in the ads. There are children here. I've seen literal I consider teenagers children. I've seen people be like, I'm 13 on Reddit constantly. Ugh. A very standard title, but I like these stories. I like it. when there's secret rooms in your buildings. It's great. Always been a fan. Yeah, it was just funny.
Okay, that's better. Yeah. I have had a wee bit of water, and my bottle is filled. Although I've drank about half of it already.
Oh, I like this one. I like the format.
Do not open this notification.
Yeah.
Ding! Wish my chair would stop squeaking.
Sounds like a screeching rat.
Chair's not even that old. Possibly less than a month. Or a little more than a month.
Have you considered that maybe your chair used to be a rat?
I mean, never know. It's a Costco chair. So, somewhere in its previous life. Oh, my nose is itching.
Okay, let's get back to Dear Anita. Dear Anita,
Oh, yeah.
I'm disappointed but not surprised. This is why the world needs the bad guys. Those who will do what needs to be done for the greater good. Tell me, have you ever done anything bad? Not so bad guy. I honestly had no clue what he was on about. I considered whether I should notify the police, but what could I say? Some deranged psycho who thinks he's Batman keeps sending me letters. Man, that's so good! I put it back onto the pass pile and carried on. After that, they started arriving more frequently. Dear Anita, do you expect me to give up? To forget? Or do you just not care? Sometimes I wonder if the bad guys are the ones walking around thinking they are the good guys. Not so bad guy. Dear Anita, I've given you every chance to do the right thing, but you continue to refuse. I wonder what it would take for you to face up to who you are. Not so bad guy. That was it. I'd had enough. Whether it was defensiveness or ego or just frustration, I decided that I was going to write him back directly. Dear not so bad guy, I am sorry to tell you that your letter, once again, is not quite right for my column. However, considering the volume of these letters and quite frankly the alarming content they contain, I feel compelled to reach out to you personally as you seem quite troubled. There's a lot of talk of the good guys and the bad guys. In reality, things are rarely so cut and dry. You can choose the person you want to be. I understand that you are upset that your letter did not make it into my column. Unfortunately, I do receive a vast number of letters, and so naturally, not all of them can make the cut. I suggest that you seek therapy, for your issues are beyond the realm of what I can help you with. I wish you happiness and peace in your future. Anita. I grabbed an envelope to write his address, but when I looked back at his letter, I realized that it did not contain the return address. I walked out to the front desk to find Joanne, the intern. What do you do with the letters on the pass pile after you've set them the template reply? I filed them away, she said, pulling out a binder bursting at the seams. These ones are from April through June. I was almost envious of her organization skills. My own desk still housed a long dead house plant, 6 broken staplers, and some currency that I was pretty sure was no longer in circulation.
6 broken staplers?
I mean, I've dealt with a lot of really bad staplers. I can understand.
And if you tend to be a bit of a hoarder and can't find yourself to throw things out.
I think in this case it's less about being a hoarder and more being like not regularly cleaning your workspace, which is also relatable.
I kind of the same way. I have a lot of bottles and cans.
This
But
guy
not
keeps sending me
worse.
letters. I want to reply to him personally, but he's not put his return address on this one. Can you find the old ones he sent so I can get his address? She found them all within seconds. No return address on any of them. So what do we do with the ones without a return address? I asked. Nothing. If they haven't provided a return address, we can't send a template reply. I filed those those ones away with the pink post-it note. See? So the only way I can get a response to him is by putting it in the column? Yeah, guess so, she shrugged. And, of course, that was what he wanted. Well, he wasn't going to get it. Throwing a tantrum wasn't going to get him anywhere. I screwed up my reply to him and threw it away. It was a couple of weeks until the next letter. In the hustle and bustle of life and work, I'd all but forgotten about him. When the next little red envelope arrived on my desk, I didn't even bother opening it. Went straight onto the pass pile. That afternoon, Joanne knocked on the door sheepishly. I think you need to see this, she said, clutching the red envelope in her head. It's just that crazy guy who keeps sending letters. He's desperate for his 15 seconds, I guess. I didn't even read it this time. I know. I opened it up to see if there was a return address. Of course there never is with him, but I think you need to see this. She handed the envelope to me and I opened it up. A small, grainy picture dropped out of it. It was a picture of me outside my house, putting my daughter in the car. I froze as it dawned on me. This guy knew where I lived, and he had been near my house. Do you know anyone with a grudge against you? Anyone who would want to frighten you or harm you? The police officer asked. No, I'm a 35-year-old woman working for a local newspaper. I don't have an arch nemesis. Do you?
I like this guy.
I really love this protagonist. Do you recall any previous letters that seem similar in any way? No, but I get a lot. It's hard to remember them all. Look, he's obviously annoyed he didn't get put in the column, and now he's trying to scare me into putting him in. Well, maybe I should. What? Said Jason. That is not a good idea, said the police officer. I mean, he wants an answer, right? I can write a letter to him, publish it in my column, and then he's got what he wants. Then he'll leave me alone. Well, it would be a good story. I bet the readers will, started Jason. Typical. If Jason were a cartoon, his eyes would be permanently lit up with dollar signs. Actually, it's likely that getting a response from you will make the problem worse. When it comes to stalkers, the police officer began. Stalker is a bit much, isn't it? It's only one picture, interrupted Jason. Jason, that's what a stalker is. And so, it went back and forth like that, nobody taking any notice of what I thought in the slightest, but they are men.
Damn.
I watched as Joanne proudly handed her immaculately kept files to the police, which they carted off in boxes. Stupid Joanne. I had to resist the temptation to tell her that the police did not care about her color-coded post-it notes. But that wasn't fair. It wasn't her fault after all. In the end, they convinced Jason that not only should not so bad guy not feature in my column, but while they are investigating, my column should not run at all. Mitchell will be happy, I sulked. I hope that hamster's been practicing. It probably has been. Jason smiled, which looked as if it caused him pain. Probably because he very rarely did it. Take some time off. It's paid time off. Most people would kill for that. Spend some time with your kid. Do some knitting. Write your autobiography. I don't know. I'm sure you'll keep yourself busy. I wouldn't call myself a workaholic. I mean, I like to stay busy. Who doesn't? But being off work was difficult. I've never been the daytime TV kind of person. We stayed with my parents for a while, which wasn't ideal for anyone, but as much as it pained me to admit it, I was frightened about the fact he knew where I lived and that photograph had my daughter in it. However, nothing much seemed to come of the investigation, and eventually we moved back home. In the time I'd been off work, Jason had had quite the epiphany. He decided that agony aunts were old news, and that what readers want is something called the misconnections column. It involved obsessive, desperate people writing in to describe an attractive person they saw on the train and wanted to ask out on a date. Oh my god. Seemingly incapable of actually talking to the fellow human they had spent their commute creeping on, they took to the newspaper to try and reach out to them. It was supposed to be romantic or something.
No.
My god. This protagonist is too real. One of the benefits, according to Jason, was that the misconnections column sort of ran itself, in that all the content was provided by the readers who wrote in. Despite my protest, I was relegated to writing horoscopes. Just make shit up, it'll be easy.
Sounds about right.
Yep. I lasted a month before I left the job. I then spent a miserable year working on a gossip column for a not very well-known magazine. Before I packed it in all together and sold my soul for an office job with my own claustrophobic cubicle, I wasn't content exactly. It was not my passion, but raising my daughter and seeing her grow into an independent and fully functioning person with her own opinions and interests gave me joy. It was several years later when I came across a job opportunity. I hesitated about applying, not wanting to give up the security and regular hours of my somewhat boring job, but my daughter, now a teenager, no longer needed me as much, and I knew that eventually I would need to start working towards my own life goals again, lest I become one of those miserable, empty nest parents in a few years. Jason had been right in that agony aunt columns did fall out of fashion, but the job I saw advertised for a local radio station was similar enough. Instead of sending letters, listeners would call up to talk about their problems. I'd never done radio and was worried about having to think of what to say on the spot, but 20 minutes into my interview, I was completely and utterly sold on the idea. To my delight, one of the interviewers, who was quite a bit younger than me, remembered reading my column growing up and pushed not only to hire me, but to change the name of the segment from what was going to be Daily Doctor, terrible I know, to Ask Anita. It was like a dream and I was caught up in it. Before I knew I was on the air, and I needn't have worried, because once I got used to a new way of doing things, I was in my element. I genuinely loved taking the calls, and my segment became popular. It was only a daytime segment on the local radio, but as far as I was concerned, I may as well have been an A-list movie star. I remember it was a slow day. I hadn't slept well, my hormones reminding me of my age. It was one of those days where you're just trying to get through to the end. I knew I wasn't doing a great job with the callers, and I'd been asked during a break to liven things up a bit, which I got my back up. When the next call came through, I answered with the most false, over-the-top, "Hello," I could muster up, earning me a few scowls from across the room. "You came back. You should have stopped." The line was crackly, and the man's deep voice was barely a whisper. "I'm sorry? You're through to Ask Anita. Can I ask what's on your mind?" The line went quiet for a moment, and then the sound that chilled me to my very bones. "Mom?" It was my daughter, her voice shaking. I don't even know what happened next. I remember my daughter crying and I was shouting. I remember the line went dead. I remember the sickeningly upbeat song that they cut to. I remember knowing that something was very wrong, but my brain couldn't connect the dots. I couldn't comprehend what was happening, why my daughter had called in, or who the man was. I remember the heart-wrenching moment of being told my daughter had not turned up to school that day. I remember the way that my hope was smashed to pieces as I found out that she was not at home, and that her friends had not heard from her since last night. I remember not being able to concentrate on the police officers' questions. I remember begging them to tell me what was going on, and when they didn't know, screaming at them to just tell me everything was okay. I thought I had known fear before, but it turned out I hadn't. Not really. Fear isn't the tingling in your stomach before a job interview. That's nervousness.
Yeah,
It isn't the way
completely
your
different.
heart thuds before you walk up on stage. It's all-consuming, completely paralyzing, helpless. Every second, every fraction of a second felt like hours until I felt I couldn't even breathe through the intensity of it. I had always made a point to give my daughter privacy. I thought I was doing the right thing. I wasn't given privacy as a teenager, and so I hid everything and anything I could from my parents. My daughter and I had a close relationship. She told me about her life, about her feelings. The police went through everything, picking apart my daughter's life, which, like many teenagers in this day and age, was very much online. At first, nothing they found surprised me. Her friends were the friends she talked about to me. The pictures she uploaded were the same ones she showed me. The boys she liked were the ones she had lamented to me were more interested in her friends. But then, there was an app. When the police told me about it, it instantly reminded me of the missed connections column that had replaced mine so many years ago. On this app, people would upload pictures of people they'd seen in the area who they wanted to date. Somebody had uploaded a picture of my daughter out with her friends and had written, "To the girl on the red top, I saw you walking past while I was with my friends. You probably didn't notice me, but you're the most beautiful girl I've ever seen." My daughter had messaged him, along with a selfie to prove it was her. She was clearly flattered by the attention, especially having been singled out from her friends who she had always deemed as more attractive than her. This person posted a picture back of a normal-looking teenage boy, and they'd arranged to meet. For a moment, I started to feel hope again. It was just a teenage boy. Maybe she had snuck off for the day to meet him. But I knew as soon as I thought it that it didn't make sense. Why wouldn't she have contacted me, and why would she be calling into the radio show? And that voice was not a teenage boy's voice. My eyes flicked down to the username of the account that had sent the messages. Not so bad guy. and I need a reading break again. Please take over for me.
Ow.
This is very hard. I also did customer service, like 24/7, talking nonstop, and
Oh,
like phone calls constantly, and like 1,500 people per day. But
still,
no amount of practice helps with the fact that this is very tiring.
oh yeah, no doubt. Okay, here we go. The whole world seemed to fall out from under me. The memory of the man who sent the little red envelopes so many years ago came flooding back to me like it was yesterday. Whereas my brain hadn't been able to process anything up until now, the cogs started turning. Had this person from all those years ago really taken my daughter? All because I had started another job as Anita? Is the reason I hadn't heard from him for so long because my column had stopped? Had he really been lying in wait to take revenge because I didn't put his letter into my column? But why would he care so much? Surely, after all this time, this maniac would have found other things to focus on. I became paranoid. Then, my fear. I became paranoid then, my fear making me distressing to everyone. I started thinking back on all the people I knew back then. I'd heard that Joanne had been given a promotion a few months after I left and became quite successful, writing opinion pieces, but why would she have gone through such a crazy scheme to get me out of my job, and why would she care that I was doing radio now? Could it have been Jason, as a way to push me out? That made no sense either. He was in charge, and he wanted to ditch my column. He did. He didn't need some insane plot to do that. I didn't care that it didn't make sense. I started pointing my fingers at everyone I could think of, telling the police to go and get them all, to bring them in, to make them give me my daughter back. By the time I was ranting about Mitchell and the guitar playing hamster, the police advised me to go home and get some rest. Not that anyone could rest when something like this was happening.
It was the hamster. The hamster took my daughter.
Who knew that the hamster was actually 8 feet tall and built like a bodybuilder? After the longest 13 hours of my life, the police were able to work their magic to track them down. Maybe it's lucky to live in an online world now. I don't know much about technology or apps or anything like that. But know that in the days of sending letters to newspapers, they may not have been able to find my daughter in time. Not so bad guy, as it turned out, was not any of my coworkers or casual acquaintances that I'd accused. In fact, I'd never met him at all. Turned out I'd featured a letter from his wife in my column many years ago, advising her that if she had fallen in love with their affair partner, she should leave her husband and start living the life she wanted to live. I told her it was the only fair thing to do for her, her husband, and her new partner. I don't even remember the letter, to be honest. It was kind of a letter I'd receive weekly. Not interesting or unusual in any weird way, really. But her husband, not so bad guy, blamed me for the breakup of his marriage and had become obsessed with stopping me from ruining more lives. My daughter was unharmed, but understandably shaken. I wished there had been something bigger, some resolution or moment of realization. Instead, the complete randomness of the person I had never met who wanted revenge on me for the letter I couldn't remember writing, but had written with the best intentions, still haunts me. If there is nothing for me to regret, nothing could wish I'd done differently, nothing I can control, it makes it all so much more terrifying. If one innocent action on an unremarkable day could lead to this, what's to stop something like this happening again?
What is this?
Da, da,
List of
da.
stories. Oh, at least it's still. Oh wait, no, this is probably a link to like what the protagonist is parodying.
Probably.
So about this hamster that plays guitar. Oh my god, Mitchell, you wrote peas. We featured it. Move on already. Oh my god.
Huh.
I like how the comments are like treating this like real, but you can tell from her personality and the exact snappy comments that this is a fictional character.
Oh hell yeah, no.
Like if this was
They
a
would
real
never be
story, it
able to
would
make.
not be this like this well written. But this is a very good one. I liked it a
Oh
lot.
yeah, this is top tier.
I love
Plus,
this
in
one and
this day and
the
age,
dad's
and
chair.
yeah, this day and age, you couldn't make one snappy comment like that without being fired
This is
or seriously
really
talked to.
yeah, like the situation is very realistic. I kind of saw the twist coming immediately. Like, oh, it's probably someone that who thinks you ruined their marriage. Because you write relationship advice, and people
Ruined her
just
life,
blame
man.
people for nothing.
Yeah, they blame the wrong source for their misery.
Alright, let's check out what's up with this notification.
Alright, this is my last one because I'm tired.
But what about not knowing that we had a basement?
Oh my god.
I'm not gonna make you read anymore, at least. If that helps.
We can save it for tomorrow. I mean, there's always tomorrow too.
Is there, though?
Maybe.
Will tomorrow come?
Tomorrow's always a day away.
Do not open this notification. Ding! Notification.
Bingo.
You have items in your cart. Check out now before... Huh? Unlock phone. Open app. What the hell is this? What's that, babe? Asked my girlfriend with the oddly deep voice.
What's up, babe?
We were relaxing in bed watching TV. This. She leans into my shoulder as I tilt my phone for us both to read. Congratulations, you have been randomly selected to join me, Jack Val, along with thousands of others on an epic journey of life and death. Jack Val's Night of the Living Dead Audience 2. This coupon grants one free entry to the show. I almost said entree. To redeem, simply add your full name in the box provided below. This is your electronic signature, and proceed to follow the on-screen instructions. Coupon expires in 12 hours. Ooh, click on it. Put your name in. What? No, don't be silly. This is clearly a scam. My girl is a bit naive and would probably click anything if it said it was free, but I love her all the same.
Wow, so sappy.
You don't know that, she proclaimed. You could be missing out on so much free stuff. I rolled my eyes at her in a playful way and deleted the item from my cart. Oh, you're not even curious? Nope! I smiled at her and returned my focus to the TV. Ding! It was her phone this time. Oh my god, I got my own invitation. Ner. She waved the same coupon message in my face. Babe, come on, I just had the exact same message from this exact same app. 2 and 2 makes... I don't care, I'm doing it anyway. She turned and slumped away from me. Not in a grumpy or malicious way, just a playful, I'll do what I want kind of way. After just a few short taps, her phone made a loud twinkling sound, mystical and magical, enchanting it away. She was silent for a while, staring at her phone, reading paragraph after paragraph. I decided to interrupt. What are you reading, babe? Huh? Oh, once you sign up to Jack Val, he sends you a pack to read to prepare you for the show. Oh, okay. And when's the show? I guess it was half sarcasm, half curiosity now. Tomorrow night at 8. That's all she said and went back to reading. Curiosity and fear for my girl's safety takes over and I Google search the fuck out of Jack Val.
Fair.
Jack Val is the founder and president of the Psychedelic Circle. He taught philosophy for 19 years, has published numerous essays on the relations between philosophy, religion, and social science, and his ideologies over the years led to hundreds and eventually thousands of followers. This is a cult.
Yep.
Every YouTube video I find starts and ends the same way. It's always filmed by a member of the audience, normally from quite far away, loud screaming and cheering for a short period. Then, always abruptly ends with a bright flash of red and a loud buzzing hum. I couldn't find a single video longer than 20 seconds until I scrolled right to the bottom. Jack Val's Night of the Living Dead Audience, 246. Wait, hold on. I'm overheating from my heater. It's very finicky.
Oof.
Welcome! Haha, yes. Welcome, everyone. The video is poor quality, but sound is pretty clear. Thank you. Thank you all for coming to this very special evening. That's right. You're all going to die. Ha 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 ha. The announcer comically laughs over the microphone as the audience cheers and follows him, laughing and clapping along. I'm not feeling this one.
It has such a nice title.
It had a good title, but like the contents are very lackluster.
It's either gonna be like another zombie one or like they all die.
Yeah.
They get fed to zombies.
It's a cult
Cult.
ending, really. Yeah, I don't like that one.
The basement?
Yeah.
The basement.
It's a series, oh my god. We're getting into it anyway. I didn't know we had a basement. You'd think you would remember all the rooms in your house growing up, right? I personally didn't grow up in a mansion or anything. The house wasn't small by any means, but our two-story suburban home couldn't have had more than like 15 to 20 rooms. Oh my god, you think that's a small house?
How many again?
How did you fit that many rooms in a two-story house? 15 to 20 rooms.
Mansion?
Depending on how you count things like hallways, closets, etc. I don't know, I still don't think that's 20 rooms. So when my brother mentioned a creepy memory to me last week involving our basement, I was kind of shocked and pretty confused. Almost as much as he seemed to be when I responded to him by saying, "What are you talking about? We didn't have a basement." Dude, are you screwing with me right? Screwing with me? How can you not remember a whole ass basement? Hell, you were always the one that seemed most creeped out about it. Of all of us, my brother Paul told me, as I started to wonder whether he was losing it or if this was some weird joke for which I just wasn't getting the punchline. I just stared at him for a few seconds before tentatively deciding on the latter. Okay, Paul, whatever you say, man. Jason, what the actual hell? Look, if you've actually somehow forgotten, I'll go show you right now. I mean, let me finish my breakfast first at least, I said, or at least approximated through a large bite of Belgian waffle. The diner we'd met up at was halfway to the old house anyway, so I decided to humor my brother and go along with whatever this was supposed to lead to. On the way over, I went through the possibilities in my head in more detail. Surprise party, maybe? I mean, my birthday was still 2 months away, but I had gotten a promotion recently. That'd be kind of a weird thing to have a surprise party for, though. Or any party, really. It's not like I was the new CEO. Maybe you are! Maybe a surprise visit from someone? That seemed a little more likely, but I couldn't think of any obvious contenders. We had a pretty large extended family, though, so it wasn't unthinkable that I was just forgetting a likely candidate. It was more likely that I was just temporarily forgetting a semi-close relative than an entire basement, after all, or so I thought. When we arrived, Mom and Dad's cars weren't there. Paul informed me he had a key, though, so we went in anyway. After an appropriate time greeting our excitable old Labrador, Felix, Paul took me to the washer and dryer room, though it was more of a closet than a full room. To my shock, there was a door behind the dryer that I had absolutely no memory of ever seeing before. What in the... Is this new? I mumbled out as I stared at the inexplicable door where no door should be. Paul just stared at me for a moment before saying, "Damn, you were actually being serious, weren't you?" I just turned to look at him with an appropriately solemn and uneasy expression before turning back to the door. I'm dead serious. I don't remember ever seeing this door in my life. So you don't remember going down there as a kid with me and Teresa, making up scary stories to tell each other about the creepy basement? If I remember right, we only stopped because you found the whole thing too creepy. I mean, me and Teresa were kind of growing out of that kind of thing too anyway by that point, to be fair. Paul's voice faded in my mind as he continued reminiscing. All my mind could focus on was trying to make sense of the discrepancy between the entire body of my childhood memories and the old, oddly placed door in front of me, challenging the very integrity of those memories. As I tried to reach deep down, a very faint and slightly uncomfortable tug at the back of my mind seemed to push for me to finally remember something. Whatever it was continued to elude me, however. "Help jog my memory some more," I suddenly said. "What all did we keep down there?" Paul looked a bit startled, though that was likely just because I'd probably just interrupted him mid-sentence, but just went along with the new thread of conversation like a champ. Oh, just like junk, I think. I remember random tools and household objects on the shelves on the side, a few creepy sculptures and decorations, a couple pieces of old and broken furniture, a ratty old mattress. I think most of it was from before either of us came into the picture, to be frank, since neither ever seemed to recognize any of it. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Mom and Dad hadn't actually gone down there in years by the time we started exploring. I mean, that dryer has been right there in front of the door for as long as I can remember. Did you ever ask? Did they know we were going down there? I asked next. Nah, you made me promise not to tell them because you were so creeped out. You said something like, I don't think we're supposed to be here. Paul paused and looked at me thoughtfully. I don't even think you gave any hard reasons, but I could see how you were so freaked out that I just didn't push it, I guess. He continued. You really don't remember any of this? I tried once again as hard as I could to grasp some matching fragment of memory, no matter how vague, but nothing came. I responded truthfully, no, and I don't know why. Huh. Weird. We stood in uncomfortable silence for a few seconds. Well, if you agree not to hold me to a promise you don't even remember making, we can ask the folks about it while we're all here at Thanksgiving. I chuckled even through my nervousness. All right. Absolve you of this hypothetical childhood oath I don't recall, but only this bit. Only this one. Hypothetical. Paul scoffed. You say as you stand in front of the very clearly not hypothetical door to the place the promise was about. No comment, I commented in response. Uh-huh, I bet. Well, we could also just go down and check it out now, he suggested. And I need water.
Water.
This one's looking pretty promising. I like this.
So far, so good.
I bet the parents don't even see a door there.
Door? What door? No
Exactly.
door.
I looked at half of the door sticking above the back of the dryer and was suddenly filled with that subtle but comprehensive feeling of dread as when I first laid eyes on it. Nah, it's okay, I finally let out. It'd be a pain to move the dryer out and put it back, and not really fair to Mom and Dad to just come into the house while they're gone to move the appliances and screw around in the basement. I finally managed, trying to justify to both Paul and myself why I was so unkeen on the idea. I mean, it's a fair assessment of the situation. I would also be too lazy to check out some creepy basement I don't remember.
Yeah, no, not a big fan of basements unless it's furnished.
Wait, so they mean the dryer is literally right in front of the door, like it's blocking? Yeah, that's pretty sketchy.
Yeah, like this is blocked off for a reason.
Yeah, I would not touch that. I wouldn't even buy this house if I knew that was there. If I knew it was there, I'd be like, real estate agent. I mean, like, can you help me sell this house again?
Was it? Yeah, like that should be something you find out like in the beginning.
Like, I love these kinds of stories, but I don't want to be the person in the situation where I suddenly find locked and like hidden rooms in my house. That's not nice.
You don't want to find a creepy old dollhouse behind some little nook.
That's less creepy than finding an entire part of your house that you didn't realize was there.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Especially if it goes into the ground.
I just would not touch a creepy ass dollhouse I found in a hole somewhere. I'm not sure why anyone would. I honestly doubt they'd mind, but suit yourself, I guess. You could also check it out after asking them about it at Thanksgiving too, though. I was like, what is that word supposed to be?
Sounds like your brain is numb.
It's not my brain. It says akin.
Akin?
It's a typo. I was like, who's Akin? Okay.
Oh.
Sure, good idea, I said, while trying to mask my hesitance. My parents were this year's host for the annual family get-together, and when I say my family is big, I mean it. Thanksgiving basically doubles as the time of family reunions for us. At least on our mom's side, and sometimes felt more akin to some kind of annual wedding reception or something than a wholesome family dinner. How many people are going to be here again? I eventually asked, ready to go away from talking or thinking about the basement, not closet, as well as away from the basement itself. I started walking back to the door before Paul could suggest some shit like waiting around in the house to surprise our parents whenever they got home. 15, 25? I honestly don't know. You'd probably be better off asking Mom and Dad. Honestly, though, we could just wait around till they get home and you could ask them. I'm sure they'd love the pleasant little surprise. But yeah, Paul literally just suggests it right after you think about that, huh?
Best time to suggest it, of course.
In my mind, I sighed heavily, but out loud I just said, I actually really gotta get going. Tons of errands to run and all. Oh, really? I thought you said you had a free couple hours when we were planning lunch earlier this week. Paul responded obliviously. Yeah, well, we stayed and talked for a while after we ate, and all the extra time after that was used up coming here. My new apartment's almost an hour away, remember? I exaggerated this a bit, confident that Paul would not, in fact, remember. Yeah, I think you did mention that. Well, okay. I guess I'll see you Thursday then. For sure, can't wait, I said, already turning back towards the front door. I don't know what it was, but I was just feeling a growing need to get the hell out of there. It was all I could do not to at least jog to my car on the way out. I thought about that forgotten basement from time to time over the rest of the week leading up to Thanksgiving dinner. I tried not to, but I think everyone knows what happens when you try not to think about something you don't want to think about. Oh yeah, that was me last night, trying not to think of, potential business idea names.
It's just you can't stop.
Yeah, I stayed up until like 8:30 a.m.
Good God.
I was already feeling sleepy and preparing for bed at 3, but then my earbuds were not charged yet, and I get woken up by loud children if I don't have earbuds in. So, yeah, struggles.
Yeah. Struggle bus.
Obviously, it popped up uninvited in my mind regularly over the coming days. In a weird way, I was almost looking forward to facing that creepy, memory-stifling basement, if only to alleviate some of my irrational anxiety. Oh, that was me last night when I was like, okay, I have picked this name. This is the tentative name. No more thinking about this brain. It's funny to think of one of these giant family reunions relieving any stress, since I always hated them growing up. See, I've never been particularly good at remembering faces or names or specific people in general, really. Wow, that's really sketchy. That kind of thing is just not my strong suit. Even with all the practice I get from gathering that on both sides were made up of surprisingly tight-knit parents as one of 7 siblings, extended families, I don't process that sentence, but okay.
Aww.
Breathing. To this day, as a supposedly functional adult, I'm not at all confident. My brain is just not functioning with the typos.
It's surprising because it started out fine and then it's just like typos are becoming more constant.
Yeah, so I think it still is fine. It's just that the typos that come up are ones that my brain does not process as obvious typos. I'm like, what is it? What is this word supposed to be? I'm like processing it like it's an actual word that's supposed to be in the story, but it's just a typo.
Well, you know.
I'm not at all confident I could name list each of my first cousins. Yeah, that's another oopsie there. Name list. I'd either forget a much older name or two that I hadn't had to think of in a decade or so, or I'd name a few second cousins who just seemed closer, relatively speaking. As odd as that may sound to any readers from a small or even just medium family background, I know I wasn't the only one. I remember hearing from a couple of relatives who were close enough that I knew were first cousins of mine, but they had similar issues remembering how every person at any given large family gathering was related to them. This even applied to some of the more well-known and consistent relatives. We all knew Uncle Rocky as Uncle Rocky, but so did each of our parents. I think we settled on him being like a great uncle once removed or something, and when we asked for confirmation or correction, he just laughed and told us, yeah, something like that. Point is, our family tree has a lot of closely connected branches, and for some reason, they all seem to want to keep up with each other. Maybe it's the misanthrope in me, but as much as I love most of my family, part of me wonders why don't they just tone it down a bit. That was my grumpy attitude going into things anyway. And walking into my childhood home now, filled with at least 30 different people, didn't exactly turn the sardonic introvert into happy-go-lucky social butterfly. I exchanged niceties with a dozen different relatives, giving almost automated responses to the same questions asked independently by each. The job's going well. I recently got promoted, actually. No, me and Amelia have been separated for about 2 years now. We're on amicable terms, though. And I get Josh every weekend and most of the summer. No, I moved. I'm in an apartment closer downtown now. I swear I'm repeating almost verbatim these things to some of the same people as from the last get together. I can't even be that annoyed because I get it. There are just so many of us to keep track of. Oh, I get annoyed anyway. Just like record yourself on your phone and replay it every time someone asks. Before you ask me how I've been doing. Boop.
Sounds like something we do.
By the time I ran into Paul, 2 hours into my time there, judging by my internal clock, 35 minutes judging by my surely broken watch, I was almost ready to lead an excursion into our little secret dungeon myself. At least any memory-eating spectral and or demonic entities wouldn't make me engage in any more small talk. Don't give them ideas, Jason. Hey bro, happy Thanksgiving. Did you just get here? Sort of. Probably been here like 20 minutes. Did I miss anything fun? He asked. I mean, if so, I would have had to have missed it too. We talked about mostly boring and unimportant subjects for a little while, and that mysterious underground beneath our house that had consumed our attention just a few days ago, and for me, much of the time since, never came up. On the one hand, I was partially relieved from a sort of the less said or thought about something unsettling, the better impulse. On the other hand, though, I was naggingly curious. Why was the stupid basement bothering me so much anyway? Oh no, the typos are more frequent now. My
Here they come.
brain can't keep up with this. I need more water.
Eventually, the entire sentence structure will be nothing but typos. You have to decipher it like some sort of code.
This is the real horror. My own mental stalemate meant that I didn't bring it up myself at first. Instead, we moved on to our big turkey dinner ponds. It had... Once? Oh no,
What?
typos! I thought ponds was like a real word. I was like, I've never heard of that. I wonder if it's some kind of weird stand for a turkey. Once it had been set out and finished, and after an appropriate level of jovial half-conversations with the dozen or so random relatives that ended up sitting at the same particular table as me and a few glasses of wine, I was feeling more free-spirited and finally looked around for Paul to finally ask him what's what. But as I searched, I just couldn't find him. Worse still, every other person I asked said they hadn't seen Paul since dinner. It wouldn't have been like Paul to leave early without telling anyone, or really to leave early from this kind of thing at all. We grew up in a pretty sizable house, but I'd looked in almost every other room before I finally made my way to the little laundry room. I opened it to find Paul there, just standing, unmoving, staring mutely in front of him at the now open basement door. Paul? I managed to mumble out. No answer. Paul! Damn it, Paul! Still no acknowledgement. Not even the barest look of awareness of any comprehension as to how I was 4 feet away now yelling his name was visible on his blank face as it just stared emptily into the eerie blackness of the old doorway peeking out from behind the dryer. I was just about ready to walk up and slap my brother when I heard the first muted creak echo out from the basement. I stopped myself and listened. Another creak. Then another just like the last, except slightly louder. Meow. That's what a creak sounds like, right?
I don't know, it depends. Is it water or creepy? Because if it's creepy, it works.
No, it's like a door creak, right? It's like... The sound...
Sounds like a weird cat.
I was trying not to make it like a cat. The sounds and whatever was making them was getting closer. Dang, I have to keep making this weird sound. The sounds continued steadily. I was frozen in place, transfixed by my own fear and curiosity. Nothing felt real anymore. I'm trying, okay? Is I even okay? No, I'm not okay. Oh god dang. Oh my god. this what Paul was feeling? I don't think so.
Oh, water.
Was
Water.
I as frozen and empty looking and trapped? Trapped? I can't even attempt to make the sound anymore. Was this real? Was anything real? No, nothing is real. This is just a fantasy. With that, an old pale arm reached out of the darkness, then another as a figure grasped onto the far end of the drive to hoist itself up onto the dryer and out of the basement. I stared dumbfounded as Uncle Rocky of all people crawled over the appliance with what somehow looked to be both impressive difficulty and graceful ease. "Oh, Jason," he said cheerfully as he hopped down. "I was wondering when I'd get the chance to see you. How are things?" Uncle Rocky was probably in his early 60s if I had to guess, with a crown of silver hair and a big curly beard. His vaguely Santa-esque appearance and demeanor had always made him a hit with the kids. I took a moment to collect myself as I mentally adjusted back to reality and that easygoing, friendly bearded smile that I'd seen countless times before at countless family events just like this one. Fine. I'm doing fine. Yeah. I eventually sputtered out. Before he could respond, though, I also managed, "So, what were you doing down there exactly, if you don't mind me asking?" "I do." That reply accompanied an instantaneous shift in demeanor, as the smile fell away and the laughter left his eyes. "You do? Do what?" I mumbled back. "I do mind you asking." "Don't do it again." His face was solemn and his expression the coldest I'd ever seen. "Sorry, I was sputtering again, but was mercifully interrupted by Uncle Rocky's deep, booming laugh. I'm just pulling your leg, Sonny. Don't you worry." The smile was back on his face like it had never left. "I'm just helping your little brother here. He said that he heard something downstairs. I heard it too once he pointed it out. It sounded like a wounded animal or something. Since his ankle is injured, I offered to go down and check myself." I finally turned to look at Paul again, noticing him leaning a bit off balance to one side for the first time. His expression, meanwhile, had changed somewhat, but he still looked pretty spaced out and only partially tuned into what was going on at best. "I couldn't find him, by the way, Paul. Whatever it was stopped yowling whenever I probably got too close. Hopefully, whatever little critter down there is okay," Uncle Rocky said solemnly. Paul just nodded at Uncle Rocky, saying nothing. At least he was moving again, I thought to myself. "Well, I'm gonna go see what dessert is left before it's too late, but feel free to come stop and chat anytime if either of you boys feel like catching up." With that, Uncle Rocky turned and sauntered off into the hallway. I watched him leave and then just turned back to Paul, who was now staring emptily at me. "Dude, what the actual fuck? You can't just ignore me like that. You were starting to scare me." I tried to sound as mad as I could without actually getting into yelling territory. Paul's mouth twitched, but nothing came out, and instead he just turned slightly and brushed right past me without a word. I turned and watched him leave, as irritated and confused as ever. Paul? Still no answer came as he calmly walked around the corner. With a subtle but noticeable limp, I stared at the spot where he'd just been for a couple of seconds before deciding to go after him and make him tell me what the hell was going on with them. But as I entered the crowded main rooms, I'd already lost track of him. I looked for another 20 minutes before our sister Teresa had told me Paul had left about that long ago. He must have just beelined straight out the door after he left the laundry room or something. I tried calling his phone, but no luck. I decided to maybe ask Uncle Rocky if he'd noticed anything strange about Paul, but I couldn't find him either. I finally just gave up and decided it was time for me to leave. I made my goodbyes to my close family and left as quickly as I could without seeming rude. I was just feeling so done with my family members, that house, the concept of conversation in general. An introvert. I don't know if the headache I was developing was actually related, but I decided to blame it in my head or on my asshole brother anyway. I still tried to call him again, but got the same expected lack of response. I tried not to worry too much for the rest of the night. Not to be overprotective and overbearing big brother I had admittedly sometimes let myself turn into, especially during our teenage and college years. Paul really hated when I did that, and he was probably just not feeling good. I told myself to be patient. I'd get some explanation when Paul was feeling up to giving one. More water time.
Agua, the life giver.
I'm concerned. I got a call back the afternoon after, and Paul apologized for not noticing my calls and for acting a bit strange after dinner the night before. He confirmed that he had not been feeling physically well, though he didn't remember a lot of details. Were you just hammered or something? I hope not, because you drove home, I said at one point. I mean, I may or may not have still had a bit of a buzz at that point, but I only had like 3 drinks the whole night. 4 max, Paul replied. Okay, well, did you eat something you shouldn't have? I know you have those food allergies. Whoa, man, for real, I appreciate your concern, but I'm honestly fine. I woke this morning with just a mild headache, and even that's disappearing now, too. I'm right as rain. I tried to accept his reassurances, but they just didn't reassure me for some reason. None of this was sitting right with me. Alright, but can you at least explain to me what the deal with that thing in the basement was and how you were acting then? Basement? Oh, yeah, sorry, bro. I'd totally forgotten about the plan to ask Mom and Dad about that. No, not that, I said, trying and probably failing to keep the exasperation I was feeling out of my tone. When I found you just staring at the basement door, looking and acting like you were on every depressant known to humankind all at once. There was a pause on the other end for a couple of moments. Sorry, dude, that honestly isn't ringing a bell at all to me. Are you sure it was me? I barely managed to succeed in refraining from yelling in frustration. Yes, Paul, I'm sure I correctly recognized the only other person in the well-lit room 4 feet in front of me. Come on, man, think. Remember, you were, like, waiting while Uncle Rocky went down there to check on something? Sorry, who? What? He replied. I repeated myself as slowly and with as careful over-enunciation as possible, without sounding condescending. There was silence for a few moments, and at first I thought I must have crossed that line anyway. But then I hear a breathy chuckle as Paul says, Alright, for real, what am I missing? Did I forget a rock that fell and hit my head or something? It was my turn to pause for a few seconds confusion. Rock that fell? No, Paul, Uncle Rocky went into the basement for you last night. Jason, what are you talking about? We don't have an Uncle Rocky.
Wah, wah, wah.
Oh my god, I guess it's just part of the lore that everyone on No Sleep treats every story like it's a real story. Yeah, I want the continuation to this, actually. This was pretty good. Aside from,
I think that's the longest one, and the typos were a little irritating.
the
Going
typos.
further down, but
You know
it was a
what
long
really
story,
keeps me
so.
awake is the typos.
Makes you brun. Your brun.
Yeah, that's what happens after you read stuff for too long. You start pronouncing things weird. Because English takes a lot of effort to hit those sounds. Yeah, that's a good place to stop.
Hit those sounds. Yeah.
Is it bedtime for you now?
Bedtime.
Okay.
Those were very many bedtime stories.
Yeah.
And now I'm not gonna have a single dream. And I'm gonna wake up the next morning, like, huh?
Maybe you will have
Well,
a dream for once. Maybe you'll dream.
No, that's gonna be all on you, all on you. Those are your dreams.
Yeah, I mean, you might get some nightmares.
No, my luck, I'll just get the same zombie nightmare, or like extension of the very same zombie nightmare dream thing I've been having for several years.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Continuation. Yeah.
I feel like nothing really scared me. Even like the good stories were just like, yeah, it's a good story. But then, I'm not really that easy to scare. I'm easy to startle. I jump if I hear a bee buzzing. But, yeah, stories don't really scare me. So I'm not gonna have nightmares.
I'm
And
not easily scared or startled unless I'm like super tired, and then scary things, mostly
you know,
jump scares and all that will
jump
get
scares
me.
don't count. That's just startling you.
Yeah.
And they usually overwhelm me with loud noise. But yeah, I will have trouble sleeping, but it's not because of scary stories. It's just because I have insomnia in general.
Just trouble sleeping in
Yeah.
general.
I have trouble sleeping, just in general. Alright.
I feel that
Well,
because I have issues.
it is time for Death to sleep, and for me to probably make a snack.
And have more water.
Tuck her out for the night. Well, actually, I'm probably gonna do some arts for video sets.
There you go.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That was a nice, relaxing, 2 hours and 40 minutes, but
Was it really that long already?
yeah, and then it was like 2 hours of me troubleshooting OBS before that. Nice and relaxing. Tech support.
Hello, you have reached tech support. How may I help you today?
Anyway, good night.
Good night. Have fun.
Sleep tight. Dream
Don't
about
let that-
mysterious rooms and uncles that you don't have. That sounds pretty normal, honestly. That's probably one of my dreams, but it's not like horror. It's just like, well, that makes no sense.
Just a normal dream.
Okay. Good night and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.